bottom left.
Hello. Let's make sure that doesn't capture Slack anymore. This is pretty cool. I'm sending it to both YouTube and Twitch. That's what I was checking earlier. Both of those seem to be working. It seems that YouTube has a couple more clicks you need to do where you're like, yes, I really do intend to watch the actual live stream. Yes, dual streaming appears to be working. How's that chat widget up top? Is that too distracting? Because I can turn that off. It's an experiment. Is it even working? Yeah, it's a widget. It's an overlay on the stream itself, so blind people don't see it. But I experimented with having a chat ticker in the window. That is very inaccessible in the sense that I can't really change the opacity and the amount of time chat messages keep existing. I was managed to bring it down from 30 seconds to 19, but I'm actually not even sure if that's too much. Probably is, so we'll see. If it gets distracting, I'll turn it off. It is warm in this room, people. Open the door here. Give myself some air, because let's have a look. See here. I want to see something real quick, and then we can start. We have Repl.it. Okay, not as tall and wider I can do. How's this? I'm mostly worried that it's going to cover something actually important. And normally I'd make it transparent. You can have the message, the background be completely transparent. But they use MUI, and apparently MUI is not accessible in the sense that you can't use the arrow keys to change these sliders until it lets you, which is seemingly somewhat random. So, good start with that. Well, in the meantime, I can... Oh, okay. Well, perfect. We'll keep it like this for a bit then. So, what are we doing today? This stream is really sort of triggered by what I saw a couple of other people do yesterday. Yeah, I was afraid it would. Okay. Yeah, I might just turn it off then, honestly. Just invisible it for now, because it's just not being transparent. It's not being transparent about how I can make it transparent. Ah, word jokes. Let me just turn this thing off then. Yeah. Bye-bye. But yeah, I'll sort that out. At least I have the bare bones for that. Yeah, we can. We'll have to drag stuff into place, and then we have to put logos and things in place anyway, so that's all good. Yeah, this is my graphics designer, by the way. Like, I hope you don't mind me calling you out, but you do good work, so there you go. For this channel, cool stuff's coming our way. I happen to have had a sneak peek, and it's gonna be very cool, so that's gonna be fun. That's gonna be a lot of fun. Oh, look at that. I got a YouTube announcement about myself and a Twitch thing about myself. Look how popular I'm suddenly with myself. I am myself, I am my own best friend. But yeah, code editors. So basically, you know, in the beginning, in the very beginning of things, we had Notepad, and we'll start our journey there, and then we're going to just go into the various new fancy things that have come up that are now screen reader accessible, and as we do, I'm hoping to cover some interesting ARIA patterns, some interesting accessibility things, which I hope will be useful for a bunch of people, you know, in the archives or who are watching live right now. And this is also helping getting my affiliate numbers up, so look at that. So what did I say? In the beginning, there was Notepad. And this is where everything begins. So basically, I need to start here because I need to explain a few things about how editors work with screen readers to begin with. It's kind of important that I do that because we have to set the stage for what the expectations are for the web equivalents and how they're not being met or are being met depending on what you're using. So let me send my... I'm going to send a lot of my speech through on this one. Because the screen reader output is actually relevant a lot of the time. So I'm going to be doing that as we go. Let me just quickly toss out a... We are now doing this thing on Mastodon. I'll leave it to other people to represent on Discord, Twitter, Slack, and all these other places. I don't have the time nor the bandwidth to go through all of them, but Mastodon is what I appear to be owning, so I'll just send the thing out and then turn that off because all the blips and bloops are not what we want to be hearing on this stream. Thank you very much. Boop boop. Live now. Smiley face. Posted. Yep. Cling cling and goodbye. So yeah, Notepad. Notepad is very simple. Notepad is a window. Notepad tells you what you're typing, and Notepad lets you arrow through stuff. Let's actually show that off real quick. I'm gonna send the speech through now.
Speech mode talk. Blank.
So we are in Notepad. If we're arrowing around, it says blank right now because there's nothing in this window. If we start typing, it says what we're typing.
Input tilde on.
Make sure you set this to a slightly less cringy default here.
Speech type characters on.
So characters come off. Speech type words on. Words come on. So basically, as long as I'm typing characters, nothing will happen. If I hit the spacebar, it's gonna say the word, which is fine. That's generally how I like it. So if I start typing here, the quick.
CKN. Space text editor document to quick.
So what that was our first, actually, the really first example of what happened there. I have the hardware keyboard suggestions turned on because I was playing with those, and I'm going to turn those off because I actually kind of need those gone. For what I'm actually trying to show off here. So give me a minute. I'm actually surprised. I had to do way less troubleshooting than I thought I'd have to do for all this. Hello, Matt Campo. Typing suggestions.
Speech mode deep. Speech search box edit type search document list filter your results with search text editor document.
Bing is useless, and I'll just do it myself. Bear with me for a second. Yeah, hello, Matt Campos. We're doing stuff. Let's have a look here. We'll just turn that off, and then we can continue because actually this is going to come up in the. Hello, this is going to be coming up in the VS Code bit, so I need to make sure that actually handles the way I need it to. Right now, it's actually going to be more in the way than it's going to be helpful. Honestly, I think it mostly is that. Let's see. Language and region, typing. Here we go. Typing. Show text as typing on the physical keyboard. Turn that mother off. There we go. What is cool? Something is cool and I missed it. Let me see. Stuff is cool. Okay, that's good. I'm glad that stuff is cool. You should stay cool. It's warm out. At least here it is. Excuse me. So let's try that again. We're going to the Notepad. I'm going to turn the screen reader on here.
Speech mode deep.
And I'm just going to type random words. Remove this S and just go. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. Now, this is mostly the screen reader doing screen reader things. It's not even really talking to the editor when you're doing this. And that's important. Rantings will come up for CodePen in particular, but yeah. basically, this is a screen reader being a screen reader. It doesn't care what you're actually what letters actually end up on the page. That is an important distinction because we're going to go into editor soonish where this will still happily work, but then if you try to read your stuff back, which you would do by, for example, hitting the up arrow key.
The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog.
Now it is actually querying the editor. Like, is there something in the editor? Read me what's in the editor. You can also go by word with control and arrow keys.
Dog, lazy, over, jumps, fox, brown.
That all works beautifully. Now let's go look at a place where this won't work.
Firefox beat settings 3 of 30. See user Floyd Ops 30.1 inbox. 208 Repl.it. Google Chrome stream beats Repl.it.
You now heard that I have 200 and something thousand emails in my inbox. Good luck.
Toolbar.
We are going to visit CodePen because that is definitely the rock bottom that we're going to start from today. CodePen.
Codepin.com selected. CodePen.
So many windows.
Clickable form search edit search CodePen. No next edit field. Out of form.
So let's first just see a look at CodePen. Yeah, let's start a new pen. Let's find how we can do that.
Clickable. Navigation landmark heading level 2 try our online editor. Link start coding.
Yeah, I'd love to. Start coding. Let's
create a new pen. HTML code editor edit multi-line land.
Okay, we are in the HTML code editor.
Land.
Let's try that same experiment again.
Quick. Brown. Fox. Jumps. Over. Lazy. Dog. Land.
The screen reader happily tells you what you typed. It even shows it in the Braille display. But as soon as you actually try to read your stuff back...
Land.
That's all you get. This was really common back in 2015, 2016. This is most likely, I don't know if this is still the same editor, but this was often the case because of a code editor, little known one called Code Mirror. Code Mirror is this really popular for a time editor that everybody and their dog used. Free Code Camp used it, Code Academy used it, Code School, I'm pretty sure used it. Pretty much anything. Yep, pretty sure anything that wanted to be fancy and cool. I think Treehouse used it. Okay, yeah. Basically what's happening here is there is a multi-line edit field, but that is just the receiver for the key events. There's not actually any content in that edit field. So the screen reader, being only able to focus on one thing at a time, is actually not aware of what's happening on the canvas behind it. Which means...
Land.
That's all you're getting. Blanky, McBlanky, blank. This is problematic, and this was actually the case for VS Code initially as well. When you started the very first like Microsoft build right after release of VS Code, you get a very similar experience. That had more to do with like the underlying APIs being like a weird Chrome amalgamation, and that wasn't very well understood yet, so they just basically had to wait for a new version. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, and actually Code Mirror 6, which is like the newest version, which has been in beta for, I think, 5 centuries now, is a lot better, to be fair. I'm not sure if it's out of beta yet, but yeah, for the longest time you had this Code Mirror 6, so there was this thing where people just said, listen, if you just upgrade your Code Mirror, it's accessible. Please do that. And people were basically like...
Effects off.
So yeah, that was sad. And that meant that basically no one could use these things. What you would have to do is basically you'd have to go into another editor like Notepad or some other thing that you liked. Oh yeah, absolutely. So you would copy paste essentially your code from one place to another, and that is fine if you're working on like one thing and then you're editing it in. But if you use something like Code Academy where you have like little bites of content, and you had to do that every single time, that was really annoying. Even at the time, there would also be this code. You could sort of make regions that were editable and regions that were read-only in Code Mirror. So basically, if you were to just copy-paste the entire thing, often it wouldn't even work. It would stick the code in the wrong place, and it would just make it become a huge mess. So that right there was a huge problem for people who wanted to use mainstream code courses to learn how to code. You literally couldn't. Think so.
Start a quick round box jump. Create a new pen. Create a new
On the
pen.
browser? Yeah, totally.
Toolbar. Med exit settings. Help some more tools. Save and share sub and find and translate. Search display print. Full screen of make text large. Make text smaller 12 of 23. Make text larger 13 of 23. 110% of toolbar. Med exit setting. Help more save and find translate. Search display print. Full screen. Make text larger 13. 100.
How's that? That's 125% zoomed in. Yeah.
Speech mode on. The speech mode off.
Just don't know how often you want it.
Speech 150% alert.
So now it's 150% zoomed in. Is that enough? Is that readable?
Tool. Create a new pen.
Oh right, I never switched that
Start a
over.
quick Firefox.
Yeah.
UI setting
Let
4
me,
of 37. See users Floyd. Ops 30.1.
let me
Ops
switch it to Chrome. I'm dumb. Sorry about that.
Ops 6. Ops 30.1. Combo box notepad. Combo box Chrome. Ops 30.
How's that?
Create a new pen. Create a new pen.
That's 150% on Chrome. You need more, let me know. But yeah, this is a Chrome pen, and let me just actually show.
Quick round box jumps over the lazy dog. Selected.
If you control A, that was one way to check as well. If you control A everything, it'll happily read you what's in there. I'm not sure why. I'm guessing at that point. Yeah. So, so when you're about to copy stuff out, when you're about to copy everything out, it has to put the contents in the multiple edit field, because otherwise you won't be able to copy paste. So at that point you can get the entire code, paste it somewhere else, like Notepad for example, edit it, put it back, and then do that loop over and over and over and over again if you're doing something like Free Code Camp or Codecademy, and it just gets really draining, really annoying, really fast. So people basically gave up, and that's essentially where I found Free Code Camp. At the time, they were way smaller than they are now. They had a Gitter chat room that they talked in. And I had to learn JavaScript for school because, well, I was doing a computer science thing and our teacher was bad. So I had to learn it from scratch by myself, and I landed on Free Code Camp, and it was not accessible. Not very, at least. And to their credit, there was a couple of people that really were trying to make it better. Honestly, they were like building it from the ground up, like with a handful of people at the time, and they still had enough time to basically listen to my whinings and see if they could make it better. That is also when I wrote my very first blog article, A Vision of Coding Without Opening Your Eyes, which I still get comments on even now today. That's like 10 years ago now or something. 9-10 years ago. That was also for Free Code Camp. Someone there asked me if I could write down how I use a computer, and I did, and it went kind of big, and it ended on Hacker News and all that stuff. So that was fun, but that's not what I'm here to talk about. Basically, if you want to look that up, it's in places. But fast forward a couple years later, and VS Code became really good. I had a little bit of a hand in that. I sort of told them that it was broken initially, and then I was on GitHub and I was counseling them through the migration to their own platform. And yeah, that's when sort of Monaco editor became a thing. So the Monaco editor is basically the editor component that's in VS Code. So if you go to Codecademy now or Free Code Camp, you basically get a slimmed down version of VS Code you're working with. That means you can enable the accessibility things that are in VS Code up to a point in Monaco, to provided those plugins are there and everything's installed correctly, which it usually is, to be fair. And thankfully for us, like for screen reader users, the Monaco editor is getting a little bit more traction in places like educative.io and what other things will say, the Codecademy, Free Code Camp, all those places. It is quite heavy, so people think it's a little bit bloaty, which fair enough. Honestly, if it makes sure that I can use a full-featured editor on these websites, I can't complain too hard, but I do understand the point. And don't worry, we're getting to VS Code. That's coming up as sort of the capstone for this entire journey, because that is sort of it trying to swat a gnat with a nuke for some things, but we'll get there. We have on the planning, we have CodePen, which we just did. So basically, let me just show you now. You actually have the visuals. What happens? I type words.
Quit. Drop. Pause.
And then I start arrowing backwards to the left.
Land.
Yeah, you see the cursor move, but you don't actually see the screen reader keeping updates. It has no idea what you're doing. And then when you select everything,
the quick round box selected.
That's when the content comes back because it needs to get to the clipboard somehow. Yeah, it's an interesting implementation, and to be fair, to give credit to the CodeMirror developer, he knew very well that this was a problem, and he was fixing it. Like I said, the beta version, which has been out for a while, honestly, the improvements to this came out a couple years after, like, it was just found how bad this was, and it was in beta for the longest time, and then people just didn't feel trusty or comfy to just put that in a project like that, so they just didn't. And then Monaco kind of came up and sort of knocked it out of the field. But these componentized things are important because if you have a wrong component, like CodeMirror, for example, your entire editing experience becomes inaccessible. A good example of that is Obsidian. I think they use Ace right now, at least for one of their editors, and it's just not great. It's not a great experience. I would love to use Obsidian more, but it's actually really not fun to use, at least in my opinion. I found a VS Code based alternative called oh, is it CodeMirror? Okay, yeah, so I think Ace might be the rich editor thing then, but I found a VS Code based alternative called Dendron, which unfortunately did cease being developed. Like, they stopped developing it. So if the extension API for VS Code breaks horribly, then I think we will have no longer any Dendron. It's not a huge problem because Dendron uses Markdown under the hood, so you can essentially export your nodes and put them in something else and you'll still be fine. But yeah, that's what I've been using, and it's actually been really helpful. You get like, it's like a hierarchical note-taking system, but again, outside the scope of this video, pretty much. Basically, where I want to go next is probably Repl.it, or Repl.it. I really have no idea how you meant to pronounce that, because REPL stands for Read Evaluate Print Loop, and then it is just someone being clever. So CodePen is pretty much a no-go. You can't do much with this. Repl.it is doable, it's just really clunky. So let's go have a look at Repl.it, see how that goes. Keep in mind, these are tools that people use a lot of the time for collaboration. You are working with other developers. Get out.
Create a new pen, Google Chrome.
If you were using with other developers, they might send you a code pen, which now we've seen that you really can't use properly. They might send you a Repl.it or a code sandbox, which is Monaco, so it's fine. Or a GitHub CodeSpace, which we'll also get to at some point. Okay, well, if it's based on CodeMirror and it's not the newest CodeMirror, I don't even need to try it. It's not gonna work. But if it is the newest version, then it might actually be worth looking into. Let me see how that's spelled. What did you say? Zettler. That's actually kind of funny. That's a German pun. Zettel means little post-it note, basically. Let's see. So this is post-itter. I like it. Okay, so we're on the Repl.it homepage. Of course, the first thing we see is a thing about AI.
Steve, visit check out the latest product innovations, AI updates, and more from Repl.it Developer Day. Link, learn more. Check out the latest
We're not going to be doing that, obviously.
Banner landmark, visit link, go to Repl.it. Navigation landmark button features.
Although, fun fact, the fact that for the people who were here previous stream, the fact that my starting soon image is now centered is partially inspired by AI, because I was messing with pixels and calculating resolutions and things, and then essentially it told me that I could just hit the center horizontally thing in the menu, and I forgot that was there. So I went to go look at the menu, and there's actually a center on screen item right there. So thanks AI for almost getting it right. Anyway,
link Repl.it AI, link collaboration, link CDE, link deployments, link teams, link pricing, link blog, link careers, link login, link start building. Main landmark, heading level 2, build software faster.
So what if we just start building? Can we start building without logging in? Let's see.
Sign up, Repl.it, complimentary landmark, clickable complimentary landmark.
Apparently not.
Build, test, and deploy directly from the browser. Collaborate in real time with no main landmark creator, Repl.it account, button, continue with Google, button, continue with GitHub.
What if I don't want to do that? Because I'm pretty sure you can just...
Main landmark, start building, visit link. Link request a demo. Start building visited link. Start building visited. Start building visited. Start building visited. Start building. Start building. Start no next visited link.
Look how many links of the same name are on this page. There's like 8.
Heading level 3 Repl.it.
They're all start building.
Main heading level 2 ideas of software fast. Check out the banner landmark navigation landmark. Repl.it shipping software fast. Visited links link request a demo. Graphic Repl.it workspace graphic time of graphic right. Heading level 3 everything you need to create the language without set graphic Ismail Fellows co-founder super use Repl.it internally. It allows us to rapidly.
But the funny thing is, I know I was here yesterday.
Production graphic Morgan McGuire. Of both MN shows Repl.it later ship it to allow us to do. Tito Serrano, co-founder ever. Repl.it extrapolates
I'm
complex.
pretty sure it let
Start
me.
building visited link. Learn more link. Start building learn more. Start building learn more. Start building learn more. Start building mobile app link. Desktop app link. Bob link.
Listen to these wonderfully cleared link labels.
That's mobile main landmark. Start building visited link. Learn more link. Start building visited link. Learn more link. Start building visited link. Learn more link.
Start building isn't even actually start building. It's a sign up link. So this is a really great example of how not to label your links. It's great. Let me really quickly see if I can find the page I had before that just let you fuck around with the editor. Because I know there is one. I know I had one before. Let me see if I can quickly find it. References, Repl.it web accessibility statement. So exactly. Please start building, please. Learn more about how you can start building. Give us money, please. Please. Okay. So I did make a test thing. Let me see if it's still up. Looks like it is. Okay, let me grab that and put it in Chrome. So here is Repl.it with an actual project open. Does it let me?
Speech clickable. Banner landmark navigation landmark button link collaboration link C link to link 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 visited link start building. Main menu edit multi-line HTML. Out of edit menu button collapse submenu style.cs. Edit multi-line HTML.
Okay. Give me money.
Make 100%.
Yeah, exactly.
HTML.
So first thing we can see, if I go through the arrows through this file, the CSS file here,
HTML space left race.
It does tell us things. That's
height 100%. Width 100%.
We can use this CSS code thing. What happens if I start Shift Tab?
Open Grammarly. One suggestions button.
Okay.
Style.css menu button collapse submenu. Preview level 1 container not selected 1. Banner landmark navigation landmark list start building link visited.
All right. So what you kind of need to know about these kinds of editors is that they all kind of work the same. So you have your somewhere there's going to be your list of files, somewhere there's going to be your editor, and somewhere there's going to be your shell. And knowing where those are first and foremost is the first thing you want to do. Like, you want to know where your editor is, you want to know where your file list is. Those are things you're going to need all the time. Shell, less important, but probably comes up at some point. So if we just start tabbing around this page,
login link. Start building link visited.
We get the rest of the start building bull, and then we can
main landmark preview container not selected 1 of 6 level 1.
And we land on the tree view. So a tree view is a particular keyboard pattern. You can use the arrow keys in it usually. Does that work?
Index.html not selected 2 of 6 level 1.
Yes, it does. Okay. It does say index.html not selected, and that is important.
Script.js not selected 3 of 6 level 1.
Because generally that means you can multi-select. There's actually a bug in NVDA currently where you cannot really tell very clearly that a multi-selected combo box actually selects things, because it's either going to say not selected, which means nothing, it's not selected, or it's going to say nothing. I don't think so, Macambos, but maybe. I didn't think I looked at it briefly at the shortcuts, and there is a couple. There is like a file list with Control P apparently, and we'll look at that in a minute, but I don't think you can quickly get back here apart from just tabbing to it. So if we tab
Style.css menu button collapse submenu.
That is, I think, our list of tabs that are open. Okay, doesn't respond to enter. That's pretty bad. What about space? Nope. Okay.
Open Grammarly. 1 suggestions button.
Not sure why that's hanging out there, but that's okay.
Edit multi-line.
We are now in the edit multi-line. That's not telling you what it's an editing, but that's actually your editor for the file.
4 button. 0 button.
I'm noticing this works differently on Chrome than it does on Edge. On Edge, there's actually more on the screen. Is this minimized?
Snap assist window running. Copy link button. 0 button. 4 button.
No, it doesn't look like it.
0 copy menu button collapse submenu.
Maybe because I'm not logged in. I don't know.
Florian features link. HTML CSS.
I am logged in.
Content info landmark list Twitter link main Florian heading level 111 east link graphic Florian features link Florian May 24th 2020 link HTML CSS.
Oh, okay, so this is the collaboration sort of mode where I am not the actual creator. That's probably why it looks like this. I'd have to log in and then it shows me the full thing. Actually, let's do that because I'm pretty sure I am logged into Google in this, so I can just log in really quickly. People know my email address anyway. It's fine. I get many emails from people from Nigeria. It's completely okay. I'll be alright. Log into your account. Yeah, Dorlin was doing it yesterday as well, and I saw there was definitely some struggle there. And believe me, it gets worse when you're actually logged in. A lot worse. One reason why I'm doing this today, I saw how badly that went, in the sense that it went perfectly fine. She managed everything. There was just so much crap she had to deal with, and I kind of want to see. You know, we have a lot more on the screen. Let's have a look.
Button collapsed. User menu button collapsed. Command combo box collapsed as auto-complete editable search plan.
So we have a command, which is, I'm assuming, some kind of command palette. Let's leave that alone for now.
Files button expanded.
So here's the files section, and it's hidden under like a disclosure button. If we close this, no, there's a lot more on the screen now. Let's collapse this. So the files thing is now gone.
New file button. New folder button. Menu button. Tools button expanded. Button.
Here's tools. Here's an unlabeled button.
Doc toolbar. AI button.
This is the dock toolbar, which has an AI button.
Deployments button.
Toolbars
AI button.
usually respond to left and right. This one responds to up and down.
Deployments button. Authentication button. Chat button.
These are these small things where you're like, user expectation is a thing, and
Web view button.
a lot of the
AI
times
button.
people forget that there are patterns for this thing. One of the announcements I did for this particular stream was on an accessibility related Slack, and I essentially said people are moving from the desktop to the web, and it's one big like Wild West. And what I'm trying to do is be Lucky Luke, just with really bad aim. But yeah, let's go.
Join Repl.it core button.
Join Repl.it core. I don't even know what that
Hide
is. Hi.
Main landmark tab control index.html tab 1 of 2.
Now here's our tab control with the files that we have open. I think that was that weird menu button we had before that wouldn't respond to keyboard. Yep, it only does vertical in this case.
New tab button.
And here's a new
Maximize pane
tab,
button.
and here's a
Pane
maximize
actions button,
button,
Control J.
and here's a pane actions
Tab
button,
control web view tab selected 1 of 2.
and here's a web view
New
button.
tab button. Maximize
Another
pane
way
button.
I can add a new tab. Here's a
Pane actions button,
maximize
Control J.
button, a pane actions button.
Style.css property page. Style.css menu button collapsed submenu.
Here is the tab for style.css. So this is a very strange focus order.
HTML menu button collapsed submenu.
Not sure what that does.
Format button.
Not sure what that
As autocomplete multi-line
does.
HTML.
There is your file. So if you're a keyboard user, you're pretty much completely here, because there's way too much going on. This was tabbing. So this is not tenable. This takes too long. Yep. So what are we going to do instead of this? We're gonna remember, really the only way to deal with this kind of clunky interface is remembering landmarks. So like I said, you don't need most of this stuff. You don't need most of this stuff. You need the file list, you need the editor, maybe the editor switcher, and that's really it for most things. So we need to figure out a way how we can quickly jump from the tree to the editor. And at this point, there's a couple things you can do. You can remember esoteric key sequences to get there quickly. Like I can get out of here, go to the top of the page,
Link skip the consent.
and just hit
Speech mode off.
button a couple times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 times is files. So if you just remember from the top of the page, 12 times B is files. You can press enter and then tab
Speech new folder menu button. Preview index.html button.
Yep. Oh, but there's more. There's more fun things. Watch this. So we are on the index.html file right now. What would you reckon happens if you press enter here? And I'm mostly asking the Windows users, and that's important because that's a very thick hint of what's about to happen. If I press enter on this file,
File name combo box collapsed.
this happens. Because on the Mac, if you press enter on a file... No, it actually does something. On the Mac, if you press enter on a file in Finder, the rename dialog comes up. And that's what they've done here too. You need to actually hit space to open a file, and that is very, very much against practically everything apart from Mac Finder. Like
Selected.
space
Main landmark. Index.
will happily open the file, but pressing enter renames it. It's just so clear that people were thinking Mac first with the keyboard shortcuts. And I've looked. This is the default keyboard shortcuts thing. You can change it in the sense that you can set it to like Vim or Emacs keyboard shortcuts. But this is so good. Like I love how they were like, oh yeah, everyone uses a Mac, right? Let's just use the enter key for like in like the only way, the only reason, like only Macs do this. Yeah, this is terrible. So let's actually see if there's some good things. So we do have, if you go looking around the internet, there's a couple of pages you can look at. There is one whole entire accessibility setting. And the accessibility setting basically makes the shell accessible with the note, if you turn this on, there may be performance issues, which is a really great, recommendation on turning that on. But yeah, that's literally the only accessibility setting I could find in the documentation. I haven't actually looked at the settings, but I did a little bit of preparation for this stream. I usually don't. I usually just go in like guns blazing and see how far I get, particularly with games. But when I actually want to tell a structured story, a structured narrative, the shell is the terminal, the command line. That is, where is that? Currently collapsed. Shell. It's here. Let's see. No, the shell is the terminal. The shell is the command line, basically. There's like... Usually what these things do is you can also like use npm or pip or whatever you use to add things to your stuff. And thankfully they've collapsed that for this workspace. You don't have that open all the time. I think you can have that open if you want that, but yeah, generally that's just sort of hidden until you need it. Same in Visual Studio Code, really. You can bring up a terminal, you just don't have it open by default. So yeah, let's not even mess with the terminal. Honestly, I don't really want to go into the terminal. That's a whole entire different ball game, and I think I need another 2-hour stream to explain all that. Let's try the command palette, which is apparently Control-Shift-P.
Window, printer combo box, Microsoft.
Except no, because that is being taken by the print dialog.
Index.html.
Let's try F1. That's the alternative one.
Untitled Google Chrome help.
Nope, that brings up Chrome help.
Index.html.
So you can actually not quickly get to the command window. Control K.
Files find the file Control P1 of 19.
See, that does seem to work. Yeah, so in the documentation for Repl.it that I looked at, it actually says the old ones, which are actually VS Code commands. So I'm not sure what happened there. Also, Command K is... Control K is, I think, something that started on the Mac as well. I just forget exactly where on the Mac. I think it is a command line maybe in TextMate or in Sublime. Both of which I haven't really used, so I couldn't tell you. But one of these Mac apps uses Command K as the command palette, and I've seen it in different places. Needle AI does it too, and a couple of other things. But yeah, this is the command palette, which does work well, to their credit.
Command list, files, search through your files, Control Shift F not selected 2 of 19. Refresh the web view, Alt R not selected 3 of run Repl, Control Enter not selected 4 of 19.
Run Repl, yeah. Control Enter is apparently run. Fair enough, that's pretty standard.
Open development URL not selected 5 of 19. Open the desktop app, open this Repl in the desktop app not selected 6 of 19. Open invite dialog, Control M not selected 7 of 19.
So yeah, you do have this list, and this is really powerful, and we're going to come back to this in Visual Studio Code because there's like hundreds of commands in that thing, but you do have this at your disposal. Now normally there's a file list. I'm wondering what they give that as a
through your file, find the file, Control P not selected 1 of 19.
Control P. Yeah, I don't know, because...
Message, main landmark, index.html.
I mean, yeah. I'm aware of that. I'm aware of that. I'm aware of that Molitvan. I know that that's how it works. I'm just trying to not, drown people in jargon, but you're right. It's very true. Because a CLI is really just a command line interface to anything. It doesn't even necessarily have to have a shell. And And there's multiple shells that you can put on a Linux machine and all that stuff. There's like I said, if I'm going to explain command line and how that works with accessibility, I'll be here all night. So I'm not doing that. I'm just gonna skip by that. But yes, shell, CLI, and terminal technically are 3 different things. And it's not helped by the fact that a terminal is also the name for the app that now emulates a terminal, which is technically not a terminal anymore, and blah, blah, blah. Dead. Okay, so it does say that Control P is supposed to open the file list. Let's see if that works.
Speech mode talk. Dialog style.css 1 of 5.
That does seem to work. So that is... Yeah, that's what I remember. It's kill, right? It's kill in Linux. Oh, that's for Mac. Okay. Control Shift K is the lead line in VS Code, I think. But yeah. So what we've just found is that Control P is essentially a solution for the I can't get to this tree view quickly.
Command list style.css not selected 1 of 5.
It is kind of interesting that it calls the file list a command list. Tells me they use the same component and just copy pasta. Fair enough. Can I at least enter on this, or do I have to use space here too?
Messages Alt plus T key to focus main landmark index.html property page edit as autocomplete multi-line list type HTML greater.
What?
Less HTML greater list type H.
Like, let's do that again. Why did it say messages T to focus?
Dialog style.css 1 command index.html not selected 2 of style.css not selected 1 of 5. Messages Alt plus T key to focus main landmark index.html property page edit as autocomplete multi-line list type.
Okay, let's do Alt plus T.
Blank. Banner landmark button expand. Link skip to intent. Blank.
No, that's helpful. There's nothing here.
Banner landmark button expanded toggle sidebar.
So, what I think this is, and this is a hard problem to solve, to be fair, is I think they're trying to give you a way to quickly get to a toast, but the toast disappears before we get to it. And that is a tricky thing with screen readers. Yeah, so there's kill, yank, and yeah, yank and kill, or like the Unix copy and paste basically. And the kill ring is like a whole entire thing. But yeah, that is delete though. That's not a command palette, so that's interesting that they picked that. To be fair, I wouldn't know what else they would pick either. Control Shift P, I think may have been like an older because I thought Control P was print in most places, but I guess on Chrome it isn't. Anyway, oh yeah, the command line with a K, because that's how English works.
Command combo box collect.
This is not Mortal Kombat, people. That's that happened last week.
Main landmark index.html property page edit.
Right now, what I just did, is there a landmark to get there quickly?
Banner landmark toggle sidebar. Main landmark index.html tab selected. No next landmark.
No. Well, okay, so there is a main landmark on this tab control here.
Main landmark tab.
Like on the left there, that bit does come in the is the main thing, and then if you keep tapping,
maximize pane button, pane actions button, control tab, control new tab button, maximize pane actions button, index.h format button.
It's still like 10 tab stops to get to your editor. So the quickest way to actually get to your editor is to use the next multi-line or the next edit field command, E in screen readers.
Command combo box select main landmark index.html.
There's only 2 on the page right now. One is the command search thing, and the other one is the actual editor. So that is a quick way to get there. But these are one of those little things that you either need to know about already or sort of develop as you go. Like, this is something I just came up with myself. And if I need to be here again for, say, work, I will now know that I can do that. But if you come here for the first time and you just want to get your stuff done, you sort of have to make this whole entire map of this really ridiculously convoluted system in order to get any work done. And with all that, it's still better than CodePen. Which is depressing, but yeah, there you go. That is Repl.it. There's really not that much else to show here. It's basically just an editor. There's not much interactivity to it. So I think what I want to do next is CodeSpaces, because CodeSpaces is, I think, a stripped down VS Code, if I'm not mistaken. And I don't know if you need to be logged in. If you do, that might throw a wrench into things, because I don't really think I can show my spruced up I work here user interface when I log into GitHub. Yeah, CodeSpaces is GitHub.
Toolbar address.
Let's actually go look.
GitHub CodeSpaces. CodeSpaces. Google.com. No next. Clickable main landmark. Clickable CodeSpaces. Heading level 3 link. Link GitHub. Link heading level.
Whoosh.
Announcement alert that your boss on board for GitHub Universe. Tickets are 35% off for a limited time. Use our quick email template today.
Yeah, exactly. And the first thing we see is
Link
some
skip the
random
content.
GitHub
Link skip the
Universe
content. Get your boss on board for GitHub Universe. Tickets are 35% off for a limited time.
Get your boss on board for GitHub Universe. Tickets are 35% off for a limited time. Use our quick email template
Effects on. Effects off.
All right, I think that's done with the stupid Telcel bullshit.
Button close.
Let's see what else we got.
Banner landmark button close. Button GitHub.
Get out of my freaking sight.
Clickable menu button.
Yeah. So I want to sort of level us up on that. The AI is by the AI. Yes, they are. Where's what AI? You mean Copilot? That's gonna be in VS Code, and I can show that off without too much trouble. There's actually videos on the GitHub YouTube channel by yours truly explains how to use the GitHub Copilot with a screen reader. So if you're curious, you can go look at that. I spend much time on it. Let's see. That was released for Global Accessibility Awareness Day last week. Let's see what CodeSpaces is explained as. Secure development made simple. GitHub CodeSpaces gets you up and coding faster when fully configured, secure cloud development environment. Blah, blah, blah. It is expensive, yes. I happen to be lucky enough to get it for free, but yes, it is definitely expensive. So can I just do this without being logged in? Get started for free. That does help. Yeah, I think if you do get that, what is it, the GitHub student pack, you do get a lot of a big discount on that.
Speech mode talk.
So we are now in the CodeSpaces UI.
Repository navigation landmark. Visited link current page. Link templates. Heading level 2 your instant dev environment.
Your instant
Go from code to commit faster on any project.
Go from code to commit faster on any project.
Link go to docs. Link new CodeSpace.
Go to docs, new CodeSpace.
Untitled Google Chrome. Create new CodeSpace. Link skip the content.
So far it's letting me do it. Very good.
Main landmark. Create a new CodeSpace. Heading level 1. Repository. To be cloned into your CodeSpace. Clickable menu button. Collapse submenu. Select the repository.
Wait, am I logged in on you?
Land.
Oh, I'm not.
No match in repositories. Out of menu branch. This branch will be checked out on creation. Button unavailable default region. Your CodeSpace will run in the selected region. Clickable menu button. Collapse submenu. Your request. Machine type. Resources for your CodeSpace. Button unavailable none. Button unavailable. CodeSpace creation is disabled. Content info landmark. Heading level 2 footer.
I love it. So what happened here? Basically, it didn't stop us in time. So you are a non-logged in user. Oh, does it? That's nice. So yeah, CodeSpaces is a little bit tricky to show. How am I gonna do that? Let me think here. Let me see. Can I really quickly? Turn off this. Oh shit! I got a follower. That's a name. Thank you, Lamatron, I think is what your name is. Lamatron, thank you so much for joining. We're doing CodeSpaces and we're just realizing that we have to be logged in for that. That's a fantastic name, Lamatron. I love it. So, let me really quickly disable the browser source and see if I can quickly log in to GitHub. I don't think we'll see too many bad things. No. Well, the AI add-on for NVDA is called AI Content Describer and basically sends images to OpenAI for analysis or description and then sends your description back to you. So technically, no, you can't really do that. There is like llama.cpp llama.cpp integration. It's apparently very unstable though, so that is something you should, like, if it breaks, you keep both pieces. To be fair though, it's really cheap. Like, I put $10 in there and I think I've used it for like 3 months and still haven't run out. So if it's just like a matter of not having the money, save up for like a couple of weeks and just toss $10 in there and you're good for like half a year. If it's a matter of you don't have a payment method that works, that's trickier.
Speech mode talk.
At which point
Speech
you
mode,
have to
speech mode
play
off.
with like prepaid Visa cards and things like that. What was that you said, Lamatron? I'm talking, I'm saying too many words and I'm not paying attention to chat. You said thanks. You're welcome. So, yeah, let me turn this browser source off real quick. Put it in a stupid notepad window or something for a bit so I can mess around with this. Notepad. There. You guys can look at an empty screen for a bit while I sort this out real quick. Hang on. Like, I am logged in with my Edge, but my Edge has like... Yeah, it's really cheap. Like, there's some people, I've seen some people say they went through it in an evening, and I'm honestly not sure what they were doing. You'd have to like rapid fire for hours to get that to happen. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, okay, actually, wait, what am I in? Why is... Yeah, I've used the Be My AI thing. Okay, I'm logged into an enterprise account I made for a demo yesterday, so I have to... Yeah, it's super tiny. That's just the test thing we had from before. I'm just gonna switch accounts real quick and then put it back on Chrome. Don't worry, this is just a temporary solution while I, you know, so you people don't see my T2FA stuff and my codes and all my things. You don't want that, that'd be bad. So, I'm pretty sure you can start for free with CodeSpaces. I'm just gonna see if I can quickly do it. If I can't, if I can, we'll just go over to VS Code. It's practically the same thing anyway. But yeah, we'll see. I did say I was gonna cover it. So sign out from all accounts. No, I just want to switch to my zones. Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure at some point they're gonna be like, hey, listen, you're doing a bit much here on the I use Bitwarden, it works fine. 1Password was okay, but I think they broke it. LastPass is probably accessible, but it's also accessible to hackers, so maybe not. I'd say Bitwarden is probably your best bet at this point, or just your browser's built-in thing, which people give a lot of shit for. It's honestly not horrible. And if it works for you, if it does what you need it to do, and it makes sure you don't use 12345 as your password, that's already a win right there. Yeah, exactly. So let's sign into GitHub. Please include an X in your email. Yeah, and honestly, the Mac keychain isn't bad. If you're using iOS and Mac, it's fine. But if you're on Windows, it's a little bit more fragmented, unfortunately. So now what? I have enter. Okay. What is this? Email is invalid. What's wrong with it? Let me switch my speech over too, so I can actually hear what I'm doing. It's warm here today, guys. Sorry, that might be sapping my... Oh, it's trying to make a new account. That's why it's having me in trouble. Already an account? Yes. Get out of my face, friendly. You poor soul. That sounds terrible. Okay, two-factor. Send an SMS because I don't have my phone handy. I use Pushbullet a lot, so Pushbullet sends like notifications for my phone over to my computer, which means I should now be able to actually log in with this. What's the code? It's just refusing to do it. I'm gonna murder everything. Okay, you know what? This is taking too long. Let me give it one more try and see if the message even got sent. It looks like it did, but I'm not seeing the notification, and I'm not gonna run downstairs to grab my phone just for something that we're... Okay, so, okay, no CodeSpaces, it's fine. We did really the only like little part of CodeSpace that is unique from VS Code anyway, which is creating the actual CodeSpace. So I'm just gonna switch right straight to VS Code at this point. That's just easier for me and for everybody else involved, because otherwise you'll be waiting for me running downstairs, running back upstairs, of course, to get my phone, being annoyed. What What I will do is I will restart VS Code one more time, and I'll go with you through the That's all right. That's all right. That would be really impressive if you could. But what I want to show off is the fact that VS Code, one thing they do try is accessibility. They have a lot of commitment to improving it. They don't always get it right, to be fair. They don't always get it right. They sometimes do things that were maybe not the best idea. But they do try. They really try to like set the bar for what people should be doing with this whole we're not doing everything on the web thing. And they have some really innovative ideas that I hope I can show off really quick. Let me just bring up the latest version. I think this is what version VS Code. Why is this always so annoying? Just a moment. Releases, Microsoft VS Code. That's pretty easy. Let's go through GitHub. That's just the quickest. The latest is here. Let me put the thing back. And there it is. The GitHub page for VS Code in all its glory. So the latest version is the April 2024 recovery update. Looks like it adds a couple of things. For the complete release notes, go to updates on the code Visual Studio. Okay, so let's go there real quick and actually look at the main, like the main April 2024 update. Because this looks like it's just a bug fix release. Yeah, so here we are. So 181.1 is what we just grabbed. That's like the latest bug fix release. But let's just go look at the first section here in the thing. It says accessibility. And the first thing they say is progress accessibility signal. The setting accessibility.signals.progress enables screen reader users to hear progress anywhere a progress bar is presented in a user interface. The signal plays after 3 seconds have elapsed and then loops every 5 seconds until completion of the progress bar. Examples of when a signal might play are when searching a workspace, while a chat response is pending, when a notebook cell is running, and more. And there's also improved editor accessibility signals. Accessible view has gotten an update. We'll go into that in a minute. Terminal improvements, chat code block navigation, comments view. There's a whole bunch of different things for accessibility, and they're front and center at the top of the notes. Nobody does that. Everybody always sort of puts as accessibility in like a little, you need to know where to look for it place, or they don't mention it at all. You just have people find out by accident. Hello, Apple, how are you doing? Sometimes they will just sort of hide it in a little disclosure, like people don't want to see this. VS Code doesn't care. They just stick it right at the top of the list. Don't care. It starts with an A. That means it gets to be up top, whatever. And honestly, I think that's a good thing, because for one, it's findable. Their documentation needs work, I will say that much, but it definitely indicates where everything is. And yeah, that's good. Microsoft is talking a good talk. I wouldn't say they're improving. VS Code is very much an outlier of everything else they're currently doing, to be fair. Everything is bad now. But let me actually switch over to... No, VS Community, Visual Studio Community has it too now, but in a more limited fashion. There's only a few. Now, to give some background, let me put the VS Code in view real quick while I explain this. To give context, up to... Okay. Yeah, I can see that. So I would like to properties. What is going on?
Speech mode cancel button enter. Defaults button enter.
Oh,
Moving.
that's just a
Combo
weird
box.
hint. Okay, so
Speech mode off.
what I was saying, up to, let's say 20... let's say up to 2017, we didn't really have code suggestions and code completion that worked consistently. Really, the only thing that did that without you having to prompt it was Visual Studio Community, and that was buggy as shit. So up to that point onwards, it just was more annoying than it was helpful a lot of the time. People did not have it on. Like, screen readers often didn't work with it. Well, when it switched focus to the completion results, it often didn't work right. VS would just sort of go on holiday and completely refuse to get any focus for like 5 minutes when it came up sometimes. And then it was just not a good experience. So blind people just generally coded without it. We didn't have on hover things. We didn't really have peak at definition. We didn't have code navigation, code completion. We didn't have code correction. So the little squiggles where it just indicates, oh, you done bad. Basically, the only way we could get that was to open the problems view, arrow through that, find the problem, and hit enter. Let it take us to the line where the problem supposedly was. Find the problem, fix the problem, rinse and repeat. And while that does work, it's really slow compared to your sighted colleagues. Because if you're pair programming, they can literally just see squiggle, oh, oops, and they'll fix it right then and there. And that's one of those things that I cannot explain to people who've never actually gotten used to doing it this way, because it's one of those things where they're like, but it works fine. And then usually these are people that don't work with other people or don't work with other non-blind people. And yes, it does work fine. It just works slower than your colleagues. And unfortunately, we live in a world where capitalism is a thing. And if you are significantly slower, if you're like significantly slower, slower, slow down, brother. Slower than your colleagues, you're gonna get fired. That's just the simple truth of it. Or you might not even get hired. People will ask you, are you slower than your sighted peers? Are you slower? And people will say no because they don't think they are, but yes, they are. Another thing, indentation. A lot of blind people who code for the first time don't think it's important because, well, they can't see it. Oh, I thought everything died. The music just stopped pretty abruptly for me. Well, they can't see it, and particularly if you don't use a braille display, there isn't that much of a gain to do it for completely blind people, because if you don't set your screen reader up to read it, you don't even see it's there. It's indentation is one of those interesting. I use a braille display. I have one right here. Not sure how visible that is. I'm holding one in my hands right now, right in front of my face. This is my braille display. Also has a keyboard built in. And a tile tracker in case I lose it. But, basically, I can see the indentation. It helps me to find stuff in the code. Actually, it's really helpful. But if you're just using speech, it's not necessarily helpful. And like, there is a couple of add-ons now and sort of like extensions for VS Code that lets you sort of navigate by indentation level, and that's really the only reason why some people indent now, because that add-on needs it. And if you use Python, you have to, or the thing will just fall over and die. But that's one of those things that people just didn't do because editors didn't auto-indent, and if they did it wrong. So when VS Code suddenly became this thing that was way more accessible than everything else, people were a little overwhelmed, to put it lightly. Like, we just didn't know what to do with all this new stuff that we could suddenly do. And that's still sort of true. VS Code is an awfully overwhelming program for people who are used to Notepad. It just is. Because it does a million things for you that you're maybe not even wanting, maybe not in the current state or stage of your learning development where you're currently at. The settings editor could honestly be a little bit more user-friendly. It's a little overwhelming. There's a lot of stuff in there, and if you like tweaking things, it's fantastic. But if you don't know where to look, it can be a bit much. There is a handy-dandy search bar, but yeah, it's just if you don't know what to type or what to search for, and it's all scary-looking JSON under the hood, so it's like you don't really want to mess with it. It breaks things if you're not used to this stuff. So while that gives you a lot of cool examples, like and advantages, like you can stick your config file in Well, it does things, Molitvan, like it auto-completes brackets, it auto-indents for you, it'll suggest code, it'll it'll let you do things like full project search, which Notepad doesn't let you do. It'll do all these other things. It might throw things like notifications at you about features that you're not using. It's quite a lot of things going on if you never used it before. So I love the program to death, but I can absolutely see I kind of love how you have the interesting, really fancy talent of turning everything I say into a wheelchair analogy. This is... I'm gonna make this a channel redeem. At some point, I'm gonna make this a channel redeem where I say something and people can say, go bother Liz and ask for a wheelchair analogy. I think you're really good at it. It's cool. That's your superpower. Let's have a look. So, we're in VS Code. So right here, right now, we're in the...
Speech mode talk. Heading level 1 Visual Studio Code.
We're in the sort of the welcome main stage
Editing involved.
thingy.
Heading level 2 start.
So we have a start thing here.
Button new file.
New
Button open
file, open file,
Button open folder.
open folder. This is already more for some people to that they just can't, because if you open Notepad, you can just start typing. And now you have this random browser window like thing that you have to pick something in, and how does it work, and what is it doing, and why is it here? And
Effects on. Effects off.
So yeah, I can see how people have trouble with it. I really can, and I really want to try to make some resources that ease people into it a little bit more. I know Taylor Arendt is doing that too. They have made some various VS Code tutorial things. I have no idea how good they are. I just saw them zip by, so don't see this as a It's a dangerous mentality, Molitvan, I think, because you're also learning code. You're learning the tools that sighted people have to learn, like in quotes, because you think you can just hang it with Notepad. So yeah, I can see it is an extra learning curve on top of things, and absolutely, yeah, you're gonna have to learn it at some point. But what people are trying to do is they're trying to learn Python and the command line and Git and VS Code and NVDA's and advanced features all at once, and they just sort of spiral out of control, basically. Because NVDA, with this stuff that I do, the hacking, the coding, all the other tech stuff, it really helps if you're super familiar with your screen reader. Like, if you know it back to front, inside and outside, if you can. I will say, I don't do these demos with JAWS because I'm not a very good JAWS user. I would have to seriously spend some time with it and figure out its limitations, figure out its strengths and weaknesses, because I am not a very good JAWS user. I never use that screen reader. I can test with it, I can get like basics done with it, but I would not be able to be productive with it. I don't think. I get annoyed because it doesn't do what I'm expecting it to do. So if I want to do a demo with JAWS, I actually have to put preparation in. If I have to do a demo with NVDA, I can just do that whenever. So in that sense, it can really be a lot, particularly if you just went blind as a developer, for example. Like if you are a developer, say you're 35 years old, you've been developing for 10 years, you do everything with the mouse, you do everything with like themes and all the other stuff, you do everything with colors, you have your whole entire workflow like completely mapped out. And then, boom, blind. Now what? And you have to learn this whole entire thing of like, you were probably not using that many shortcuts before, so now you have to learn all the keyboard shortcuts. NVDA is seemingly really slow at first because it's only telling you one thing at a time and you can't direct it very well. There's a lot of things. And honestly, even the people who are blind from birth do not get very well tech founded a lot of the times. They'll get taught the basics of their screen reader, usually JAWS, because Freedom Scientific likes to make money and Federal Quota likes to give them money, so that's what most people get saddled with, even if NVDA might be better for their situation. And they don't get taught. So it's like... Excuse me, wow, I forgot to hit my mute button there. But yeah, let's actually go play with VS Code now, because we've been talking about it a lot.
Button open file.
I have deliberately not turned down all the things it does. So it's going to throw AI at us. It's going to throw auto suggestions at us. It's going to do all the things. Just because I want to make a point about what that sounds like and how that is for a person that hasn't done it before. Let me just make a new file here.
Untitled one editor as autocomplete multi-line.
How's the font on that? I made it bigger already for like the demos. I'm not sure if that's stuck. So if that's small, please let me know. I can make it bigger. It's a bit small. Alright, let me see.
Type the name of the command to run. List help. List signal enough.
Is it command plus? You have control plus here too? Doesn't say anything. How's that? Is that any bigger? So these are these small things that I don't notice. As a blind developer, obviously I don't look at the screen. I don't even have a screen connected right now. But it also doesn't tell me. And this is one of those ARIA things where I'm like, you have ARIA live announcements. Please just use them. Not... Yeah, no, let me just do it through command line. The command palette.
Type the name of the command to run. List help. List signal announcements. Recently used.
Magnify.
One results. Ask GitHub Copilot. Magnify. Control plus alt plus I. Similar commands 1 to 1.
Yeah. Let me try that actually. Yeah.
Command panel open new host appear editor layout explore search source can run can extend problems output debug terminal word wrap command open new appear sub editor layout sub menu left appear full screen F11 not checked F1 zen mode control center layout not menu bar check primary sidebar secondary side status bar check panel not check move primary sidebar activity bar position panel position sub line panel sub menu tab bar sub menu editor actions position minimum check them fit toggle breadcrumbs check sticky scroll check render white space check render control caret zoom and control plus equals Z 20 of 22.
Oh, look at that. Look at what we just did. Look at just how many options are in this menu. There's 22 items. This is 22 items in just the appearance menu alone.
Reset zoom control plus numpad 0 R22 zoom out control plus Z21 of 22.
So it says control
zoom and control plus
equals.
equals
That's what I've been pressing though. Hello. But in the meantime, let me just save this file. I'll just put it like a maybe.
Save dialog. File name.
Let's do a JavaScript file. Likes JavaScript a lot. Let's do test test.js.
But that's the bullet untitled 1. Visual Studio Code. Chrome legacy window unknown. Test is unknown.
So the fun thing is, VS Code is Chrome under the hood, and sometimes it falls over.
Left click.
Like it just did.
Getting started assist welcome visual unknown.
But now I'm gonna try to
30.1.2 profile.
Resurrect
Start window.
it.
Visual Studio Code unknown. Task F.
Yeah, it's garbage. I'm sorry, it just is.
Folder view default terminal off 30 point speech mode off.
Zach Brand. Am I saying that right? Thanks for the follow, Zach Brand. Welcome in. I hope you're having a good evening. Hope you're having a good Friday. Yep, I can see it. My code broke. So I can get it back and not have it do what it just did. Okay, yeah, there it is. Can I get my file back? I just opened this because we had actually a pop-up come up. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I've seen you do yours. Do it, Chris, and it's dumb. Test McTest. Whatever. Just open this. So right now it did
open restricted mode cancel button. Open the restricted mode open button.
Something or other sometimes makes NVDA not be able to focus the window, and what that could be any number of things. Because honestly, we just open this and something on the screen. Honestly, it is a pretty sort of complicated piece of software. It's like a whole entire Chrome browser under the hood, and then they have a whole bunch of JavaScript running on it, and who knows what else. So yeah, it can be a lot. If I now try to start typing things, which is like a let keyword, let's just see what happens. Just the keyword let. Yep. There wasn't even a UI at first. You just had a JSON with autocomplete and good luck, and they then sort of kludged a UI onto it later. Let me just type the word let and see what it does.
Suggest list let 1 of 22.
That was not too bad yet.
Test 100. Let.
So let's just do let.
Suggest list let 1 of 21.
So the first thing it's going to do is tell us a suggest, and suggest basically means autocomplete. We can have this be something else. We can use the arrow keys up and down here.
Let 2 of 21.
And it can say, did you mean
Byte
length?
length queuing
Or
strategy
maybe
3 of 21.
byte length query queuing strategy?
Largest contentful paint 4 of
Maybe you
21.
meant largest contentful paint.
Screen left 5 of
Or
21.
screen left. No, I meant
Large byte length
let.
1 of 21.
There you go, let. You press tab.
S123.js editor as autocomplete multi-line left.
Let
Unknown
date
test.
equals...
Error.
Boom. Error. Oh no, I did it wrong. I must stop coding. I'm the worst programmer ever. Whatever did I do? Why is it giving me errors? What's going on? So I'm not even exaggerating that much here. Because again, we're not used to this kind of instant feedback. This is not something we've had until like a couple of years ago. It wouldn't tell us, hey, you dummy, you did it wrong. So people who are programming for a while and suddenly get this feedback, even people who are seasoned programmers, they'll blink at this because like, wait, what? I'm not done yet. And visually, you get used to that. It just squiggles and you keep typing and the squiggle goes away. But there's something about icons or just little sound icons that just sort of grab your attention and go, wait. Broke it. That. Yep.
Rate 50.
It is actually already pretty slow. It's at 50. I'm having it like be like about 30% slower.
Rate 45.
I remember that actually. Like I said, I was there for like the initial versions as well. They had me tested and it was bad. But yeah, it is already quite a bit slower than it would normally be. I have it at rate 45 currently, and normally my rate is at 80. So at some point you gotta say that's gonna have to be it. I also have the panel I can put up to show what NVDA is saying. The problem with that is that it covers up the screen, and it's actually really hard to move because it's made by blind people, and they didn't really think about resizing and dragging, making it easy. So it's doable, but you need to use a mouse, ironically. So let's do like date, time, or something. Actually, so this is just a regular suggest. Let's do an AI thing.
Unknown. John, S123.js visuals.
I typed the word function and I'm already getting errors. Do I use the rate booster? No, I don't use the rate booster in NVDA. It's really annoying, yeah. Wait, who asked that? Oh, Dolly Darling. Oh, hi. No, I don't tend to use the rate booster in NVIDIA. This is 50 rate regular. Yeah, that'll be Dorlan with Tank, I'm pretty sure. How's Tank doing, by the way? I was at the vet with my doggy today. I had to have his teeth cleaned. So I was up early and hung out in the vet's waiting room for a couple hours. It was fun. If I were to actually want to trigger AI, so the GitHub Copilot in this case, what you would do is you would give it just enough for it to start spamming you with suggestions. And I'm actually not sure if I have it enabled. So let's try giving it something
Speech
here.
talk. Rate 45, rate 40.
I'll slow it a bit down. I'll slow it down a little more even. So the getting started article with Copilot has you do calculate days between two dates. So let's do that. Function calculate days between two dates.
/ some code here.
Burp. So that little different. I'm actually not sure. I don't think you can hear the boops. Can you?
Run to.
Or you can't hear the boops. Can you hear the boops?
Text the folder view list sound dialog.
Make sure you can hear the boops. I don't think you can hear the boops.
Blank.
Oh, you can hear the boops? Fantastic.
S1.
That broke last time I was doing the demos. Fantastic. So let me do it again.
E-T. R. Error.
So it's throwing all sorts of things at you. It's saying an error.
S.
Well, that's good.
Error.
So I'll do a left red to get
date
the
1,
AI
date
to
2,
happen.
const diff time equals match.apps. Date 2, date 1, const diff days equals match.sale. Diff time / 1000 *60 *60 *24. Return diff days. Inspect this in the accessible view. Alt + F2.
So let me explain what's happening here. because it looks like just a regular suggestion. It's not. It's basically a ghost text suggestion, and that means that VS Code actually, like, the screen readers actually cannot see this text if you just arrow through it. When this first came out, the beta for it, it was completely inaccessible, and I let them know it, and they fixed it to a point. What VS Code had to do is basically make a mechanism to make things that don't look so fancy by default and stuff it in like a accessibilized version, and that's what they mean by the accessible view. Honestly, that is not very well documented, so if people skipped over that, very understandable. But we just heard a whole bunch of code that it will add if we press tab. Now, we're not going to do that. Because if you want to look at that code in detail, which you often do because you want to make sure you don't add crap to your code base, you hit that Alt F2 code base, Alt F2 key here.
Accessible view editor multi-line function calculate days between two dates, date 1, date 2.
And it puts what you just put in together with what the suggestion would be in a little editor, like sort of a popover thingy.
Const diff time equals math.abs, date
and
2,
you
date
can
1.
just look at it without actually messing with your own code. It's just here. You can dismiss it after if you don't need it, or you can accept it and we'll just paste it in there.
Const diff days equals math.sale, diff time return diff days.
So if you're like, yeah, that sounds good, you do
Main landmark, inspect this in the accessible view.
Slash
return diff days.
and now there's the code. It doesn't really tell you. You see it in Braille a little easier because you see the last brace of the function, and that wasn't there before, so there's a little bit of interesting thing there, but it does do it, and it does give you all those tools, which is something that is just really interesting because, like I said, we didn't have that kind of equal access before. This was always broken. This was broken in every editor that I used when I was in school. And I wish I had VS Code in the way it is now when I was in school, honestly, even without the AI, because it would have made a lot of things a lot easier. Now, we've been bitching about the settings UI. Let's have a look at that real quick.
Search settings editor has autocomplete multi-line
settings
blank.
UI.
Search settings last since 0 seconds ago.
We have a search field here. We have
Toolbar, clear settings, search input button available.
We need to use left and right to move through that toolbar. Now, that's an interesting
clear settings, search
right here. I know that because I've seen it before, but there is not really a precedent for that, I don't think. Even on like there is like toolbars on the desktop where you can usually go left and right through controls, but that's definitely not always the case. Sometimes toolbars don't even appear in the tab order. Actually, most of the times they don't. So they just sort of hang out under the menu bar. The welcome screen? Oh, hang on.
List test 120. Welcome 3 of 3.
I'll get that
main,
out of the way.
welcome visuals. List settings 1 of 2. Test 120. Settings 1 of main landmark.
That better? I forget how VS Code windowing works. We are on the settings thing now. Should be at least.
Search settings last since 9 seconds ago.
But yeah, what was I saying? Yeah, I expected by that. Shouldn't be.
Speech mode off.
That is weird. Wait a minute. Also, hello, Pianosaurus. Is the stream view frozen? I hope not. Oh shit, I think I know what's happening. Hang on. I restarted VS Code and I guess OBS didn't play ball. Give me a second here. Yeah, no, you're not wrong. Let me I'm gonna have to do that whole thing again now. God damn it. Hang on, let me fix it. There's Chrome. And there is code with the actual thing. Yeah, you want to be looking at this one. There you go. So yeah, let me do what I just did again.
Speech mode talk. List test 123 main landmark. Test 100
stuff.
Undo. Function
You should be able to see the code now, at least.
Function calculate days between.
Var date
1 equals new date
massive,
7/13/2010. Var date 2 equals new date 12/15/2010.
There's the AI suggestion. Is that visible? Before I continue and do this again. Tiny. I did try to zoom it. There, I'm zooming it. I'm zooming it. I'm zooming it to Kingdom Come, but it's not really doing it. I guess.
Main landmark. Test. Out R. Math.round.
Oh, nice.
Clickable.
Okay, so I zoomed
Main
it up
landmark.
like 5 times. If that's not enough, let me know and I'll zoom more. But yeah,
Function calculate days between 2 dates.
we have that calculate dates between 2 dates, and now if you put like one more character, the AI is gonna trigger.
Var date 1
Sounds
equals new date
like
7/
that, and it also looks like that. So the accessibility view, I'm actually not sure if that's visually even visible, but this is what it looks like for us.
Accessible view editor
It
mode.
just brings this up in a little editor.
Function calculate days between two dates. var date 1 equals new date. 7 var date 2 equals new date. 12/15/2010. Blank. / the number of milliseconds in 1 day. var 1 day equals 1000 *60 *60 *24. Blank. / calculate the difference in milliseconds.
Yeah, so that is the accessible view. And this works for various things. There's an accessible view for diffs, accessible view for the terminal output, an accessible view for AI Copilot chat responses and things. So there's quite a few things that they've accessibilized this way, just because that was the easiest way to do it and the best way to do it. And that together with like the signals, which is either like the little sounds we keep hearing, little bong for AI, little boop for errors, or actual just a warning announcement or an error. That is that'll do all that stuff, and that's sort of what the thing they're pioneering, because nobody else does that. And there's a large amount of accessibility configuration options as well, which a lot of apps don't do either. Like you have almost never an accessibility settings tab or something for an application you're using. It's always graphics and themes and things, but not I want this to be spoken a certain way by screen reader users, or I want this tab order to be different because I'm a keyboard user. That's never a thing. Yes, Alt F2 is always accessible view, Crescent says. It'll tell you when you can use it most of the time. That's pretty helpful. Let me see here. So we're back in the file. We're back in the file here. And I just alt tabbed out and it doesn't like that. So let me just see if I can get
left click. Blank. Fire ops 30 point. Test 100. Visual Studio Code dialog. Do you want to save the change? Don't save button. Alt plus N. Press test 123. Level 2 files auto save. Control
so
level.
Here's the settings UI, the one that was
settings.
so maligned. I'm hoping you can still
Settings
see that.
Ops 30. Welcome.
Yeah,
Ops list or Ops 30. Reco edit view. Row C drop tools. Help. User settings. X search settings.
Ah, yes, you can.
Browser
Because I can, so you
settings.
can. The wonders of OCR. Well, I just did a little snapshot of the screen to make sure there was actual VS Code content in the preview of OBS, and there was, which tells me, yes, you guys can see it. Yep, that is the settings UI. This is the settings UI for VS Code. No one can find anything in here.
Search settings. Left 0 seconds ago.
So, to demonstrate what I just meant, what I just said, if I search for word accessibility in here,
62 settings found. Search settings. 62 settings found. Last since
there's
0
this whole
seconds ago.
entire
62
thing.
settings
To be
found.
fair, it's a little inflated by the fact that a lot of this is just turning sounds and signals off and on, so there's not actually quite that many. But you can do things like, you know, do you want to be told about a warning? Do you want to be told about an error? Do you want to be told with a sound or with a verbal cue? How much time should we wait before we tell you? There's all that stuff that you can sort of individually
settings,
configure.
62 settings
really
found.
be
Last since
personalized
55 seconds
that
ago.
up. I'm not gonna mess with it because I have it in a good place for me right now. But yeah, all that stuff is there if you can find it. It can also be really overwhelming, but it's there if you can find it. There's also a couple of like utility things. You can get a list of all the sound cues so you can listen to them and figure out what they do. That's just in the command palette, which I'll cover in just a second here, because that is essentially the heartbeat of the VS Code. Now, I did say I was going to show off things that don't work so well. I'm going to show this off. I'm going to go into a new file.
Untitled one editor as autocomplete multi-line blank.
I'm going to open the extensions view.
Search extensions in Marketplace.
Yep. Now, if I hit, like, it seems to me, this is a thing that I've been not knowing for, like, pretty much the entire time I have using VS Code. I've just opened up the extensions view with this Control-Shift-X. This is where you get, like, new plugins for the VS Code. And if you hit that hotkey again,
main landmark, untitled one editor as autocomplete multi-line blank.
You go back to your editor, which makes a lot of people think that window is now gone, but it's not. It's actually still there, just hanging out, cluttering up your workspace. To get rid of that, you actually have to hit Control-B, which doesn't give you any announcement. So there's almost no way to figure this out unless someone tells you. I was told by a visual user. a couple of weeks ago. Like I've only known this for about a month or two. Because it just seems it's a toggle.
Search
It's
extensions
on,
and main
now
landmark.
it's
Untitled
off.
1. Search
Now it's
extensions and
on,
marketplace editor as off. Main
now it's
landmark.
off.
Untitled 1.
No, it's actually still there. Just your focus changes away from it. So you hit Control B, everything is gone. And that is something they could do better. Like a lot of the visual stuff, the purely visual things, it almost seems like they've deliberately made a choice not to mention that. Same with the zoom level. It doesn't tell you anything about it when you're zooming, which is not great because, yeah, well, you just saw it. I can't verify if it's zooming or not. I have to have someone else tell me. Not the most important thing ever, but it does come up. If you're working with another person who needs like the thing zoomed in or whatever, yeah, they can do it themselves. But if you can just do it for them and actually do it consistently and deliberately, why not have that be in there? It's one of those things that where I'm like, this is probably really easy to fix. I just haven't bothered yet because no one has mentioned it. So I'll probably have to go to GitHub and like make an issue and then someone fix it up. They are very good about that, to be fair. They will fix things pretty quickly. And you could see it in really the release notes. There is always accessibility mentioned. Like in pretty much every release notes I've seen, bar maybe like a couple, there's always an accessibility section. They've at least done something with it.
Speech mode off.
Right, I need to read that. You said pair programming. Yeah, Matt Campbell's like small low contrast says, I need large high contrast. There you go. That is a fun one. That is where live share would come in, I guess. I'm not sure. I don't think that copies themes over, so you could do it that way. That's actually relatively accessible in the way it can be. Like, it'll tell you where your colleagues are changing things. It's not going to tell you every change they make, because that would get ridiculous, but it does tell you where to go, and you can use Control G to go to the different lines and things. So that's pretty cool. So there you go. But a couple of really interesting ARIA patterns that we can look into here. Really advanced ones too. One is the picker. We're going to look at that now. If we bring up the command palette here.
Type the name of a command to run. List help. List signal announcements. Recently used 1 of 1350.
So this is a really tricky pattern right here. It doesn't seem like it is, but it really is. And that's really because a screen reader can only have one thing focused at the same time. So what do you do here? Do you focus the edit field so you can see what you're typing? Or do you focus the list so you can see what you're selecting? There's no real good answer here. VS Code has opted to focus the list, so you can't see the letters you're typing, but I'm guessing the logic behind that is, well, you're filtering. You're probably not going to be typing novels in this thing, so it's pretty more helpful to just get your list filtered and make it act like a sort of a modified type ahead system, which I think was a good move. But I see this everywhere on the web. Like, you'll have a search field with like autocomplete that like filters as you type, and a lot of the times they would just tell you 5 results found, 4 results found, 3 results found, 2 results found. It's completely unhelpful information. Cool that you tell me that something is found, at least cool that stuff gets updated, but if you're just going to count down how many results were found, I can't see those results yet. I'm literally typing my search query and I can't look at the results while I'm typing. So at this point, am I being told something useful? Same with these carousels. It came up in Africa and Dorland's stream yesterday. If I have a carousel that just says item 1 of 3, item 2 of 3, item 3 of 3, and then I have to sort of decide, okay, no, well, great that it's on a different card now. I still don't know what's on the card. I'm going to have to go look at that. Probably it's going to move while I'm trying to read it, so why would I bother? But then the alternative to that is something where you, for example, see on audible.com, where it tells you the titles of the books spinning by, and you can just leave it on there and it's going to tell you more and more and more stuff, which is also not great because you're not near that carousel. You're not there to click the titles for it. So it's like, carousels are really hard to get right and really often not even worth the trouble. So yeah, carousels are evil in particular. Someone asked a question. Let me see. I mean, the search, I like the command palette actually. It's pretty helpful. And Matt Campos asks, would a better pattern be? There we go again with your wheelchair things. Good job. Would a better pattern be announce you are in an input field and then list the suggestions. I mean, it's really one of those, you have to give a user some help to indicate how you want them to use the field. Like, are they supposed to press down arrow? Is it just gonna like load the first result when you start typing? There is no standard pattern here. VS Code has made their choice. I think it's a good choice. So stay in the list, you're typing, the list shrinks. You can go through the list with your arrow keys. I think that's a good way to do it. I don't love having like a, say, an edit field where you just get told the number of results and then I have to go tab over to the results or something others to get there explicitly. Because I'm like, at that point, why? What does it matter? So yeah, it's also true what Liz says here. The most recently used commands are at the top as well, so you can trigger those again quickly. Particularly helpful if you're doing like repetitive formatting and you don't remember the hotkey or something. But it also means that at some point you're going to just develop like a little bit of a short list on the top of the long list that has all the stuff in it that you could use for like just rapidly getting to the stuff you use a lot. Because the keyboard shortcuts mapper is pretty much also a JSON file under the hood, so that's also a great UI. It all works, don't get me wrong, it's just a little clunky. But yeah, with all these commands, let's just have a look at how many commands there's in the pair.
Speech mode top. Search files by name. Append to go to line.
It told us. Hang
Main
on.
landmark. Untitled one. Type the name of a command to run. List help. List signal announcements. Recently used 1 of 1350.
1,350 entries in this list. That's a lot of commands. It's unreasonable to expect people to just remember it all. So it makes sense this spell is even here. But yeah. That is true. It is a cognitive an accessibility to have it at the top as well. It's super helpful. I think it's like the first. I think you can even configure how many most recently used it keeps at the top. I think you can change that. I think it's like 10 by default, or maybe even 20. But I think you can change how many it keeps. And there's a lot of things you can change, like all that stuff I was just mentioning, like the suggestions, the auto brackets. You can turn all of that off if you want. You can notepadify VS Code if that's how you'd like to have it. It'll take you a while, and it's probably not a good idea, but you could do that. One thing is also helpful is the fact that you have everything here. Like, we only have one file open right now. Do I still have
Two
a
results.
welcome
Settings
window?
2 of 2 on 62. List on settings 1 of untitled 1 2
No,
of 2.
I got rid of that. So if I were to go into my menu here,
More sub. File sub menu left 1 of 8. New text file control plus NN 1 of 20.
so there is a traditional menu bar as well. So if people like that mode of operation, there is no ribbon to be found here. So that's good. Uh-oh. VDA just had a moment. Let me press for reconnect my Bluetooth keyboard. I was gonna say there is like a regular menu bar, and there is also things like your most recent things that you added. So even if it's not the command palette, you do have your most recent files in the file menu as well. That can be helpful. I'm gonna see if my keyboard comes back. If not, I'm gonna have to do some magic here. Not sure. Oh, there it is. Finally. Okay.
Folder
The
recital.
wonderful view of Bluetooth, people. There we go. I don't think so. How much battery? 32%. I'm fine, thank you. So terminal. Jasper. My computer is called Jasper. There's a whole story behind that. That's what it's called.
Untitled.
Let's see. So we're in this file. Let's go to file.
More sub.
Oh, you got a blank screen or an empty file.
File
Okay,
sub
there
menu
you
left
go.
1 of 8.
Yeah. So we're in the file menu. Let's have a look at the file menu.
New
We
text
get
file
all the usual suspects. We got new file.
New file control plus alt. New window
open
control.
file,
Open file
things,
control.
new
Open folder
window,
control.
blah,
Open
blah,
word. Open
blah.
add full save works. Duplicate works. Save control save as. Share sub menu for auto save not checked. Preferences sub close editor can close window. All exit exit. New text file can new file can new window can open file. Open folder can open workspace from open recent sub menu.
And there's open recent. And we can
Reopen,
actually
close that.
open both files and folders in this list. There's 10 of them.
C program files. X86 Steam apps common 82 content 2 of 11.
So you can see I was playing with the Hades 2 mods in VS Code. So if you bring that up,
Welcome content Visual Studio Code document application main landmark editing evolved.
we've just done that. We can now go to the Explorer view with Control-Shift-E.
Files Explorer preview level 3 blind access .lua106.
And we have this whole entire file tree. We have all the files that we need open.
Config.lua not selected to main.lua not selected 3 of 6 level
We can
3.
just pick one.
Main landmark main.lua editor has
Now it's
autocomplete
in our
multi-line ROM.
editor. Press Control-B to get rid of all the bad.
List welcome 2 of 2.
And close that welcome tab.
Main.lua editor.
There you go. This is a Lua file, so I don't speak Lua, so we're not going to actually be coding here. The file tree should be right
Files
there.
Explorer preview main.lua 3 of 6 level.
That is weird because it's the same window. Oh, it wouldn't. No, you're right.
Untitled
You're
1
right.
Firebot v5 Firebot.
It opened a new
Main
window.
ops
Yeah, good
30 point
point.
ops.
Good call, Pianosaurus.
Ops 60 ops 30.
I forget how
Cancel default.
particular it
Combo
is
box
about that.
code.x.
Hang
Combo box Firebot v combo com.
You would
Combo box code.x main.lua content visual
that
ops
one. There you
30.1.
go. Now you can see it.
Firebot
This is the file tree.
v5.62.
Right there.
Clickable. They have recently used at the top. Main.lua main landmark.
There it is.
ROM.map. Files
Should work now. Zoom needed 2 key. There's the zoom.
manifest.son main.config.lua not
Hopefully.
main.lua 3 of 6 level 3.
Yeah, here's the file.
Main
Here's the
landmark.
file. And close that out.
List main.lua mods blind at main land.
So yeah, this is just literally a Lua file. And what's cool about this particular thing is that I can search through this whole entire project. If I'm doing something like this, where I need to know like what I'm trying to address, Lua is pretty big about just importing the whole entire mother flipping namespace, so you can pretty much attach anything to everything and hope it doesn't fall over. So that means that a lot of times you have no idea where functions are coming from, and neither does VS Code. So what you're gonna have to do is find the function name.
rom.mods sgg mod in return of mod importer.auto. rom.mods sg rom.mod.
And yeah, this is basically just the main file.
List
Let me open
main.lua
some
mods blind accessibility blind main. Files manifest.son not modful.txt not select main config.lua not selected 2 of 6 level 3.
It's here.
Main landmark config.lua editor has autocomplete multi-line local mod equals or blind local config equals. Enabled equals true. Mod.config equals config. Return config. Return config.
So that's some code for the screen reader. You can just steal this thing, and if you want to search for the entire project, you just hit Control-Shift-F.
Search type search term.
And you can search for, I don't know,
S clear.
the something from the game. Okay, yeah, this is 5. I'll do 3. There you go. Oh, does it? Cool. That's cool. I did not know that. But just for the joke, let's look for the word moon and see if it's in here. This is a game about Olympian gods and witchery, so it wouldn't surprise me if the word moon is in
mode
here.
off.
Let's search for the word moon.
Speech mode talk.
Let's see how that works. Moon.
Progress.
Any moons? It's thinking. It's
Search
thinking
return
about it.
1358 results in 1.
1358 results in 5 of 197 files.
Moon.
So
Match
yeah,
full.
plenty of moons
Use
to
regular
have.
expression. Alt plus R. Button. Open an editor link.
And you can just tap
1358 results in
to
1.
the tree viewer, and then you can just go look
Level
for
1,
the
2
tree
matches
view,
and
see where all the moons are. There's one here in goods.txt.
Level 2 E474
Apparently string that says, yeah, Selene Moon Drop,
815 dis-
or SFX Selene Moon Pickup. So I'm guessing that means there is some kind of sound effects thing in here that has sounds for a moon pickup and a moon drop. And if you would want to mod that and make it a different sound, you can do that. You can just change it here. And this way you can just explore a complete code thing, complete code base, and just figure out where you need to be. And this can be really helpful if you like level up with a new code base, or you just started working somewhere. You can just Control-Shift-F place things. That's one thing, again, we didn't really have before, because most people use Notepad. You can't really open more than one file at a time in Notepad, so people use command line for everything, or other things of that nature, which is not, there was no like integrated solution except for VS Community, but that really was only just for .NET stuff for the most part at the time. It was like C#, VB.NET, maybe F# if you were lucky. Question?
Speech mode off.
Question, someone about keyboard shortcuts. Crescent says, where do you find the keyboard shortcuts? You sort of learn them as you use them. They are in the command palette. So if I were to go into command palette here
Speech
again
mode
and
talk.
type like find,
24 results. Add selection to next. Find match. Control. Add selection. Find. Control plus F3 of
we
25.
can see that find is control
Find
F.
next. Enter 4 of
Find
25.
next is enter.
Find next selection.
Find
Control
next
plus F3 5
selection
of
is
25.
control F3.
Find previous. Shift. Find previous selection.
And if
Find
we
with
keep
arguments 8 of
going,
20.
at some
Find with
point
selection.
we'll
Hide. Find related code from find with selection 9 of 25. Hide. Find with arguments 8 of 25. Find hide. Find your local history. Move last select. Move last references. Search. Find in files. Control plus Shift plus F16 of 20.
Search find in files, and that is this one. Control Shift F. So it takes a bit of getting used to type the right words to get the right results. But as you use the product more, at some point you're just going to learn a handful of them that you use a lot. And you just have those handy. And if you don't, you can just put them at the top of your command palette here. Yeah, that makes sense. So if I were to press enter on this now,
search, type search term and press enter to search edit multi
and close it out again, doesn't really matter. Just go
list
here.
conflict.main landmark.
And I do control F, and I do F1 again.
Type the name of a command to run. List.
It's not going to be at the top of my list. So like people said before, if you just click them once and you don't use too many of them, they'll sort of stick around the top anyway. You get to them quickly, and that'll also help you sort of see them faster. And yes, having a braille display does help, because you can just quickly shut the computer up. I'm even doing it reflexively. I'm trying not to, because I tried to sort of I tried to make sure that people hear what the speech is actually saying up to a point, but I get tired of hearing it all the time too, and it's real quicker if I could just look at like halfway point of the line, which you can't do with audio.
Show log 1394 of 1394.
Yeah.
Search find in files. Control plus Shift plus.
Or you do that. That works too. Traversy is a good teacher. He has a lot of good videos on all sorts of things as well. If that's the same person, I think it is. But yeah, there's cheat sheets. There's ways of learning them. But yeah, so we saw the picker pattern. We saw the tree view pattern in the file thing. Let me actually go in there again and show a couple things that are different from Repl.it.
Blind access not selected. 1 of 6 selected.
Just selects things.
Conflict not selected. 2 of selected. Blind access not selected. 1 of 6 level for conflict 2 of 6 level 3.
And I think there's ways of having like multi-select, but I'm not quite sure how that would work with the keyboard. Enter.
Main landmark. Conflict.
Opens a file. It doesn't rename. Thank you very much. You can also use other desktop related like things you would expect to work. For example, you can go onto a file and press Shift F10 or the applications key on Windows, which is your right click menu.
Main.conflict.2 of 6.
Thought you could.
Menu.
Yeah, you can. And that'll also have context things like open to the side,
with 2 of 13.
for visual people.
Reveal in File Explorer, Shift plus Alt plus R3 of 13.
Which I'm not quite sure what that does because you're already there.
Open an integrated terminal 4 of 13.
Open an integrated terminal, which is when the shell terminal, CLI, whatever you want to call it, comes up. And you can use that to essentially do command line related things in your project as you're going. You can also just do that in a command line window itself. That's honestly what I do, but you can use the terminal if you want to stay in VS Code.
Artisan missed submenu 5 of 13.
I have no idea. That's a Laravel thing.
Select for compare 6 of 13. Open timeline 7 of 13.
You can compare. You can get a history of what you've been doing with Git with this file.
Cut Control plus X.
So there's a lot of stuff you can do. There's also just a lot of things you can ignore though. When you're first starting out, I suggest stay away from AI initially. Get used to what it's doing for you. Get used to the auto suggests. Get used to the fact that NVDA is kind of chatty in some respects in NVDA. That's because NVDA is clinging to the ARIA spec very closely, even to the point of detrimentality where VS Code is concerned. And we've been telling them about that, but they don't really care. So that's a problem. There was an add-on that would cut down on the chatter a little bit, but the person who was maintaining that decided, nah, I'm done. So that's no longer being maintained, unfortunately. So yeah, for people who want to learn this, start slow. Like start with a single file. Make sure you give it just save the file with the right file name, so it gives you relevant things. And just sort of play around, play with the suggests, play with the snippets. What is that one again? Let me look it up. There is a really quick way, for example, to toss out an HTML skeleton. What is it again? Looking it up in my other browser. VS Code snippet HTML skeleton. I think it's like exclamation point something. Yeah, there's a YouTube video, of course. Yeah, something like that. Let's see what that Matt Campos said. Yeah, HTML exclamation point, right? Yeah, so let's show that off. It's actually really cool. Like I don't want to do Emmet. That's a bit much. Emmet is really cool if you know how it works. Emmet is like this way where if you type, yeah, like Emmet is cool if you want to do like a quick list with like 12 list items without having to type them all out. And if you know how that works, it's great to learn. If you do this a lot, it's definitely worth picking up. It only takes like 20 minutes to learn. And then you forget it again until you need it again. But yeah, let's just make a new file. Let's make a new HTML file. Let's just randomly call this index.html. Doesn't really matter. And yeah, let's try this out. So we do HTML.
Index.html editor as autocomplete multi-line HTML.
Okay, that was not
ALMTH. Index suggest list VHTML VHTML 1 of 1. Index suggest index. Index.html Firebot V5 Firebot.
That's right.
Message
I
stream
honestly
edit.
forgot.
Stream
So I'm
edit
just gonna
cool.
try all
Another
the
cool. Click
suggestions
a
in
Mac
the
click
chat.
Trigger the M click a Mac click options HTML5.
Yeah, HTML5.
Index.html
Okay, yeah, so let's try
content
that. HTML5.
Index.html editor as autocomplete.
No.
Space back file MT8.
Maybe I have the snippets turned off. I don't know. Let's see.
Firebot V5.6 clickable list enter key. Speech mode off.
Yeah, that's what happened. Oh, HTML boilerplate. What did Marco say? Oh, the colon. HTML. There you go. So HTML colon 5 is what it is. And you just press tab.
Index.html editor. Less doc type HTML greater. Less HTML lang equals and greater. Less head greater. Less meta charset equals UTF-8 greater. Less meta name equals viewport content equals width equals device width. Initial scale equals 1.0 greater. Less title greater document. Less slash title greater. Less slash head greater.
Oh, I'm not going to go further into Emmet. Like, I'll do this skeleton because it's a really helpful start. But if you want to learn more about Emmet, just go look it up because it is really cool.
Less body greater. Blank. Less slash body greater. Less slash HTML greater.
It goes outside of the scope of this. Emmet works in Notepad++ too if you give it the right plugin. So I don't really want to go into it now. But yeah, Emmet's fun. If you have to do like a lot of static pages, Emmet's super helpful. But yeah, basically what VS Code also gives us, and this is the last thing I'm going to mention about VS Code. I don't want to be too much of a fanboy, but I want to like sort of highlight just how many things this can do for us. VS Code replaces a lot of tools we had to use different tools for before. So, like I said, Dendron, for example, is a note-taking solution completely based on VS Code as the editor. And it modifies your VS Code quite substantially. You have like a whole entire new mode, basically. And you can pretty much go from just like regular old nodes to like building entire wikis with the things. There you go, Emmet cheat sheet. Very helpful. Thank you for that. Appreciate that. Other things, I've seen a hex editor in VS Code that's being worked on right now. That is not something we really had an analog for in Screameater land either that worked well. I haven't honestly tried this one yet for a while. I think when I first tried it, it was pretty broken, but I have seen some accessibility fixes come land for it, so it may honestly be better now. Another thing is notebooks. Jupyter or whatever the way to pronounce that is not fantastic. It is pretty inaccessible. It'll do things. Like, you can work with it. It's slightly worse than Google Colab. And then it's definitely worse than the VS Code implementation of Jupyter Notebook. So if you can use that, definitely I would recommend doing that. Because also there, we saw in the release notes just now that even that is being given some care for. So it's just becoming this one Swiss Army knife of tools that we didn't have before. And I have written articles when I was still more of a coder. I'm more of an accessibility tester, and other things now. But I used to be more of a coder, more like a code monkey, basically. And I was doing this whole entire convoluted rigmarole of, I had a Mac because all my colleagues had a Mac and their software only would run on Mac. I also had a VM with Windows on it. It had like 4 different editors, 3 different browsers, it had a bunch of command line tools. It had all sorts of converters that I would need to trigger certain things. It had all sorts of weird hacks to make things work better. Just this whole entire thing, and I had to sort of sort all that out in between work times, sort of in my own time for the most part, because no one knows this stuff and no one documents this stuff. So you're on your own, basically. And this tools like VS Code, tools like WSL, tools like honestly AI. I know people don't love AI, but there are certainly some good uses for it. They do help a lot. Like, they just even the playing field. I hate using that phrase because it's overused and super cliche, but it is true. I'm trying to think what other interesting patterns I can show off before we call it for the day, because we've been going for a minute. I'm definitely really happy about the fact that the YouTube stream works. Saves me a bit of time, because I always archive these after the fact. Like, I have to wait until Twitch is done archiving it, and then I have to go in and click the export button, give it a title, give it a description, and now I can just do these in tandem. Yeah. Wait.
Speech mode off. Speech mode off.
Completely lost track of chat. What are you bitching about? AI. Yeah, absolutely. It's not a game changer. Some people say it's like the second coming. It's not. There's a lot of things it doesn't do right. Amusingly, I was actually going back and forth with it. One thing it's not very good at yet is localizing something within an image. So I was asking about the centering of my image, and it would keep telling me, no, it's off too far to the left, and it's off too far to the right. It's actually in the bottom right corner. I am a chameleon with a trumpet on my head. It just completely kept sending me in circles. So I was like, yeah, I should not be using AI for this, but it has really been helpful for other things. If you can look through the hallucinations, which is a skill, and if you give it the right prompts, which again is a skill, you can get good results from it. It's not like you can just throw whatever at it and it'll just do it. More often than not, it'll not do that. But it has definitely helped me in the past with really esoteric things. Like, for example, I will sometimes transcribe tutorials from games for people because screen readers can't read the button inputs, and AI has been really helpful with that because it can sort of tell me what the OCR can't tell me. So it's these little small things that it helps with. Things like if I need to see if my chat overlay is showing in OBS, I can ask it if that's on or off, or I can ask it if the camera is working. Stuff I would normally have to get sighted help for. It can do that well enough, and that's helpful, but it is very sort of limited in what it does. I need to read what people are saying, because, oh, that's just my command. Garbage in, garbage out. So absolutely, yeah, prompting is a skill, for sure. And with GitHub Copilot, I did a test with a couple of folks a couple weeks back to make a program basically from scratch, simple program. I think it was like calculate how many days someone's birthday is away from the current date. And dates and times are annoying in any programming language. And I had that mostly done with AI. Like, I had to help it a little bit, but I mostly just asked AI, hey, do this, do that, add this, make it so it does this. And it honestly didn't do half bad. Don't ask it accessibility questions unless you give it a really specific prompt. There is an article on the GitHub blog by Jesse Dugas, the D-U-G-A-S. He wrote a whole entire thing on like experimenting with prompting really specifically for GitHub Copilot to try to get accessible code. And he sort of documents the journey he went through with that. And it's honestly not a bad read. It's pretty fun. I don't have the article in front of me so right now, so if anyone wants to go find it, that's fine. But it's he got some decent stuff out of it. Obviously, again, you need to know what you're doing. You can't just use this as in I have completely no clue about accessibility, fix my shit. It's not going to do that. It's going to give you the most horrible suggestions. D-U-G-A-S, Duga. He worked for GitHub. It came out in, I want to say, February this year. So yeah, it is possible to get good stuff out of it. You have to be... Yeah, you have to essentially say things like, make sure the code is compliant with WCAG 2.2. Make sure you don't do XYZ. Make sure this and this and this. Yeah. So then that's it. It's cool. I'm trying to think, what other things can we show off here? Obviously the one thing I can show off actually, that's kind of fun.
Speech mode top.
One problem that VS Code had was how do we create some kind of easy way to hop between main sections of the program? Is there a standard for that? And for a lot of the times people thought there wasn't. There actually is, but it's one of those obscure things that a lot of people have forgotten about. And it's the F6 key. At least for Windows users, it's the F6 key. Yeah. F6 is one of those things that doesn't work in almost anything anymore. It works in Explorer still, and it works in a couple of other things. But it doesn't work in Windows 10 apps. It doesn't work in web apps for the most part. And the few web apps that it does work in explicitly built it in because it used to work in other things and people are used to it. But yeah, F6. F6 works in a couple things. Like if we go to does it work in Notepad? Let's find out.
Firefox V5 versus code ops 30 untitled visuals untitled 1 clickable remote button clickable rocket Gitlands active view switcher tab main landmark index Firefox V5.6 versus code ops 30 point Visual Studio Code Repl.it 7 of start a quick settings not see use set start.
Does it do anything in Notepad? Nope. It jumps between portions of the. Let me show it off in the
untitled 1 Visual Studio Code 2 of 38 untitled blank.
That's this window, right?
Clickable settings toolbar close editor control plus F clickable settings click index.html index / blank.
Oh, here the index thing. You're right.
Body
this one. So if I start hitting
speech mode off
F6
speech mode
at this point, we're in the editor, and if I hit F6,
status bar.
We go down to the status bar. You can tab around the status bar,
remote button.
Or even use the left and right arrow key. So here's where your notifications are.
Remote button.
The button for remote, which is really helpful if you have like stuff on a remote server that you need to work on.
Gitlands unplug launchpad. Gitlands launchpad. Small capital R, small capital I, $ question. Command : Gitlands .launchpad indicator action %22 info %22. What is this? Gear command : workbench action open settings %22 Gitlands launchpad %22 settings circle / hide command : Gitlands launchpad indicator action.
Shut up. That is the Gitlands extension, and not great.
No problems button.
We have no problems. That is your amount of problems.
No ports forwarded button.
No ports forwarded. That's for like hosting stuff so people can come hack your shit.
Live share button.
Live share.
Windows
all
zoom
this
button.
stuff is in the command line. You can Windows zoom. Look at that.
Screen reader optimize button
here. Screen reader optimize is a thing you can find here.
Lane 9 kernel 5.
And then you see like what line and column you're
Spaces,
on. So
4
there's a
button.
couple of things you can do here.
UTF-8 button.
UTF-8 is the file
CRLF
encoding, CRLF is the line
HTML
handling.
button.
You can change all that stuff here. It says that we're doing HTML, which is correct.
Copilot logo, show Copilot status.
And then there's
Not installed.
Copilot
Kite engine is not
and a
installed
couple
button.
of other things. So if we hit F6 again,
Active view switcher tab control Explorer control plus shift plus E -1 unsaved file tab selected expanded 1 of 4.
that's actually all the way at the top of the DOM.
Manage toolbar
Right
accounts
here
menu
in
button
that
sub menu.
manage in this toolbar here where the accounts button is.
Manage menu button sub menu. Accounts
And it would take a really long time to get there with just tab. If we hit it again,
Files Explorer 3 view index.html 3 of 7 level 3.
we land in the file tree. And if we do it again,
Main landmark
we're
index.html.
back in the editor. So this is something you'd wish Repl.it had with all the clutter that's in that window. So F6, super helpful. Works in Slack too if people want to try it. At least in the desktop version, not in the browser version. It's Control F6 in the browser version because it also works in browsers.
Speech mode off.
Wait, what did Crescent do? Crescent, what you do? Gitlands is too much, yeah. Oh, you misspelled worries. Haha. Yeah, I have too many windows open. How many windows do I have open?
Speech
Let's
mode,
find out. I
index.html.
have 38
Index.
windows open. It's not that bad. I've had 90 plus open at some point. This is tame for my doing. This is tame. To be fair though, I do have like 100 and something tabs open, so there is that. Something balances itself out. Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, you are sick. You got like a nasty cold going on for Crescent.
Speech mode off.
Anything else that's helpful? So basically, yeah, we've gone from CodePen completely inaccessible to VS Code almost overwhelmingly accessible in the sense that you can do so many things with it that people get completely lost. And I will say that the documentation, particularly from a screen reader's perspective, could definitely be a lot better. Something I have played with fixing at some point. I just need to find time and possibly maybe some compensation for it, because it's a lot of work, particularly to maintain it, because they keep changing shit. Like these audio cues, that's a thing from like maybe half a year ago. The non-audio cues, verbal cues, that's like a few months old. They keep changing the game on me. I'm pretty sure the little videos I made for GitHub Copilot will be out of date like in half a year, because they keep changing how everything works, which is also a bit of an accessibility matter, because it doesn't really give you a chance to get used to things. Generally the changes are pretty well documented. If you look at the release notes, you can see what they've done, but it does take a particular kind of like inference to be able to figure out, oh, I just need to change this in my workflow now, which to be fair doesn't really happen that much. Usually what they do is give you access to more shit, like notebooks now work better, or the terminal was inaccessible for the longest amount of time and it's a lot better now. Diff viewer is now better. That's it. Yeah, that's the one, Liz. Oh wow, it's a lot older than I thought. Sorry about that. I thought it was like last year. I saw it in February and I thought he had just released it, so it's a bit older than I thought it was. Yeah, that's basically my colleague. At the moment, I do work for these guys. Not sure for how much longer because contractor life, but yeah. I'm not sure if I was about to say that. Okay, clip that out. No one's heard that.
Speech mode off.
Anyway,
speech mode off.
what time is it? It's like 12:11. Okay. I'm trying to think if there's anything I haven't covered. Like I said, with the power of extensions, you can essentially make this go on from like just a regular old editor and it gives a little bit of help to like you can make it into a full-fledged like IDE if you want. It has a debugger, it has a command line, it has a code completion tools, it has code navigation things for various things. You can add new languages to it, so it's pretty cool. And pretty much anyone can just make stuff for it. Like if you want to make your own extension for it for a thing that it doesn't currently do, you can do that. So that's another really interesting thing. Used to be back in the Visual Studio community times, when that was mostly the most accessible IDE we had back in 2016 or so. It had a lot of problems. Don't get me wrong. It was a dinosaur of a product. It was slow. It was lumbery. It didn't work half the time. But it's all we had. And then most of the components in there were accessible, bar a few. But then if someone were to make an add-on for it, which you could do with a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, that add-on could very well be inaccessible. Whereas if this VS Code gets an add-on, or they call it extensions, generally, and I'm not saying this is always true, but generally it uses a lot of the underpinnings of VS Code. So if it uses a picker, it's going to use the VS Code picker. If it uses code suggestions, they're going to be using the code suggestion thing from VS Code. For example, if you have VS Community and you installed the thing that what is it called, ReSharper from JetBrains. That's a curse word. Brains. Sorry, I don't want to curse too much on screen. Brains. They make Py and they make PHP and I don't know what else they make. IntelliJ. Those are all curse words because they were bad for accessibility for the longest time. They just did not care. Apparently they've added a little bit of extra stuff now, but they also added this ReSharper thing to VS Visual Studio Community, and they were honestly able to add the most inaccessible version of Code Complete to the most, at the time, accessible IDE that we had, which I find a really interesting negative accomplishment. Good job, but also, why did you do this to us? I think anything else I wanted to show off here? Yeah, it was very, very impressive. Oh yeah, I want to show Notion. I want to show my beef with Notion before I leave, because I think that's an editor too. It's not a code editor, but it's an editor.
Speech mode deeps.
And I want to show
Speech
that
mode on
while
demand,
if
speech mode
VS
off.
Code is doing all the right things and pressing all the right buttons, some people are not. Let's go have a look at Notion. Let's go have a look at Notion.
Click.
First thing I see. Use Notion with Google.com. Use Notion with Google.com. Florian Bayers. FlorianBayers.gmail.com. Actually, yeah, do that. I need
Continuous
something to
Florian
type in. So you should sure
Verifying
continue to
alert.
my account that I never used. Go for it.
Notion, the all-in-one works button 0M.
I know you guys can't see
Main
it.
landmarks.
Give me a second to load this up.
Button graphic. Button graphic.
This is so good.
F. D. Blank. Blank. It's called Q&A. Blank. Blank. Blank.
All right, let's
Speech
just
mode off.
let me just see how bad this is. It's actually a little bit better in Chrome than it is in Edge. But yeah, let's just look at the wonderfulness that is Chrome, that is Notion. Where'd it go? Huh? Okay, first problem. This is the window. I got confused
Speech mode talk.
because this thing is
So it
only
won't tell you
called...
anything confidential. No matter how nicely you ask.
What the fuck?
Plus, as with all of Notion AI, you can rest assured that no AI models will be trained on your data. And when your workday is done, Q&A can help you study for class,
I'm not
research for your
touching
side puzzle,
anything.
or even help you plan for dinner. We hope Q&A makes Notion even more helpful across your work and life, answering all your questions about where you've been and where you're going, because you can only remember so much. Leave the rest to Q&A.
Stop.
No next edit, no previous edit
I
field.
don't
Out
want
of
this.
banner landmark, main landmark, clickable set out of section, clickable button open Grammarly, clickable section multi-line editable, clickable menu editable get started with, clickable graphic, ask AI, clickable graphic, to-do list, clickable graphic, weekly plan, clickable journal,
Let's do a journal.
menu editable get
just
started
for
with,
fun.
get started with,
I just pressed enter on journal, and now
Get
I'm using
started
the
with.
arrow keys.
get started with, get started with, get started with, G, 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 get started with,
I can't move. I can't type.
SAS the I button. No next edit, main landmark, clickable section, main landmark, section multi,
Okay, now we're in a place where we can type. Let's type. Hello. Let's see what we type.
O, L, L, E, H, H, E,
I
L,
can see
L, O,
one
line,
character at a
blank,
time.
O, L, L, E, H, H, E, L, L, O, blank, menu, get started with, unselected, ask AI, to-do list, weekly plan,
I can't click these.
journal,
Maybe with the mouse. Let's
Table.
try it with the mouse.
left click, untitled document,
So the first thing I got confused by is that literally the only title we have for this window is
untitled Google Chrome,
Untitled Google Chrome, which is also the thing it gives when there's no title. So just call it Untitled Notion, you nitwits. Let's see.
dialog, closed book,
Yeah.
new ways to sort and display your pages, button closed tooltip,
Close the
untitled document,
tooltip.
149M button,
See, there you go. It
Mode,
doesn't
full.
even tell me about
clickable,
that.
mode, but clickable,
It's-
button mode, clickable, blank, mode,
It's
full is active,
really,
clickable main landmark,
really not good. And I've told them, and then they tell me, "But we added alt text. You can add alt text to images now." I'm like, whoop-de-f***ing-do. I'm gonna get fired because people in my company use this and need me to comment on things. Fuck off with your alt text.
no previous edit field, clickable, hello, main H, 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 H,
I'm stuck on the H for hello now. I can't even delete this.
H,
Nope.
H, H,
Nothing.
menu editable, get started with,
Okay.
get started with,
Yeah. Enter.
started with.
Nothing. Click it.
left click,
Nope.
get started with,
Stuck.
I button,
I have a button. The AI button.
dialog,
That's the
section
one thing
multi-line
that
editable, ask
doesn't
AI anything,
work. There you go. The AI button works. I am now. My life is complete. The AI button works.
Button. Main
Yeah,
landmark
but
clickable
I
section.
didn't even put like
Main
different
landmark.
lines on
H.
them.
H. H.
So I can't delete.
H.
I can't move. I can't read.
H.
It's this, and this is a new product.
Speech mode off.
We have WCAG, we have the ADA, we have Section 508, we have the Canadian Accessibility Act, we have the European Accessibility Act coming up, and this is what Notion's doing. So yeah, didn't intend to roast Notion in this stream, but here you go. Notion roast. Roastion. There you go. I think that's a good thing to end on. Yeah, if that ever happens, they're completely and I've told them that. I've told them that, like, in an email, like, listen, you're sitting on a time bomb. Someone is going to like what you're doing, and they're going to need it to be accessible. And when that happens and you're not ready, you are really screwed. Because in Europe, we're going to have the AIA, we have the EAA, we have the ADA in America, we have the whatever the French one is called. There's the Canadian one, which is apparently pretty heavy on the fines as well. So if this gets picked up by a big tip, the Royal Dutch Airlines are already picking it up for some teams. So that's already kind of happening. It's bad. And like I said, I told them you need to do better, and they just stopped responding to me. That's what they do, though. Another really interesting tool, and don't have it handy right now, but Postman.
Speech mode off.
The developer tool, Postman, the test APIs, that one is really bad too. It's been bad since 2015. But that one is at least old. That one, at least I can sort of see, okay, well, product of your time, maybe. Kind of sad you haven't fixed it by now, but okay, I can sort of, maybe. But this, how old is Notion? 4 or 5 years now? Maybe? If that? Isn't it like a pandemic product? I forget. Maybe a little bit younger, maybe a little older than that. But yeah, I think this is a good way to sort of end the stream here. This is a bit of a contrast I'm trying to make. Basically, yes, there are still there are definitely victories. Some programs are really well done. Some people are really sort of trying to start, you know, they try to bear the torch forward. They try to sort of lead the way and make sure that people know what to do going forward. And that's hard. That is hard. Believe me, that is really hard. That is what I do pretty much on a daily basis with people. I go sit down with them and they tell me, we've made this, how do we make this work with screen readers? And sometimes, honestly, I've used screen readers for at least 25 years and I don't always know either. Believe me, sometimes we just don't have the standards. A really great example that came up in yesterday's stream for some of the people that were in here. If you have a toast with an undo button and you fire that toast when you delete something in a list, how are you going to do that with a screen reader? Like, are you going to bounce the focus all over the place? Is there going to be a standard hotkey that doesn't currently exist that triggers that toast? How? I don't know. Because you actually need to be in 2 places at once for it to work, and a screen reader cannot currently do that. So it's this whole entire... We have these tools, how can we best make them to make this as least shitty as we possibly can? And sometimes there isn't a good answer. Sometimes you have to hack around things or just make it just good enough because there's nothing else you can do. Fortunately, less and less often, but it does still happen. And yeah, and then you have freaking Notion, where it's like they just did not give a shit, which is very sad. But yeah, there you go. Visual Studio really good, Notion really bad. Repl.it not great but usable. CodePen complete garbage. It is very much a spectrum still. It's not. People sometimes say, are we going forward or backward in accessibility? And I don't really know. I don't have an answer for that. Because it tends to change. You don't really ever know what's going to be happening next. It can flip so often and so quickly. Like, we get a new tool. We get a completely new tool that changes the game for accessibility. And then literally a week later, Sonos makes a new app, and 100,000 really angry blind people lose access to their speaker system for a couple of weeks. It's always something. You never win. This is a never-ending fight. Like this, if you work in accessibility and you're good at it, technically you should always have work, because there's always going to be people who just do not care or do not care in time. And yeah, unfortunately, I am in that position where I am good at it, which means I'll probably have work, provided I can find people who care enough to see me as a human being, which is not many people when the money comes around, basically. And with that very cheerful thing that we just said, I'm gonna find someone to raid. I think we've been going for long enough. I hope this was helpful for people. I hope I can find something to drink after this, because I am warm, and coffee apparently. Anyone who's like, who has friends? I know that's a big ask, but anyone who has friends that are currently live, that are doing something at least very remotely similar to this, like hacking, coding, accessibility, I don't really care, but something that isn't Fortnite or Call of Duty, because I'd love to raid people, but this is kind of like a niche thing I'm doing, and I can't always find people to raid to that makes sense. You're welcome. Tell your friends, tell your cat, tell your dog. Make sure people follow this channel. I really have big plans for it, and I want to make sure I get to the biggest audience I possibly can here on YouTube and on Twitch. So if you think you know people that haven't seen this yet that might benefit from this, please send them my way. That can only help. I really don't need the finances. I don't care about the money, but I care about the audience. Yeah, I'm looking now, seeing if there's like a coding stream we can hook into. We have a cool catching title. You should totally do that. Yeah, I just feel free to tag me on LinkedIn or just link this stream. It's gonna be archived on YouTube by default. It's gonna be doing all sorts of fan stuff. So if people want to share it, you can share the YouTube link. You can share the Twitch. You're welcome. You're welcome. This is obviously not hacking. We're doing hacking again, probably next week. Next week I'm gonna, bully try hack me some more, and soon we're gonna play with Burp Suite, which is gonna be fun because that program is awful. But yeah, Burp Suite, Zap Proxy, all sorts of cool stuff are coming down the pipeline. And then tomorrow there's probably gonna be games on the XerxCX channel, so if people like that, they can go there. And I think I'll do Spider-Man 2 or something. We'll see. Let me find a programming Twitch streamer person. Programming streams Twitch. I try to find people that are like not partner because they won't even see I'm rating them. So like smaller streamers that do have a couple of viewers, so there's not like just nothing going on, but people that are still grateful for actually being rated. If it's like a person with like over 100 viewers, I'm not gonna give a shit about me rating them. Like, this doesn't matter. You'll be a blip, and then people just move on with their life. Here, this person is making games. Prince Phase 101. No idea who that is. Software and game development. What are you doing, folks? Is this a person with a huge amount of viewers? 11. No, that's pretty good. Playing software and game development. Yeah, let's go bully this person. No idea who they are, but let's go bully them. With a raid. So I'm gonna put that into chat here. Does raid work on this? I'm pretty sure it's in my profile. Raid Prince Phase 101. Go do it.
Raid initiated.
Fantastic.
We will be raiding Prince Phase 101 in 90 seconds.
So yeah, everybody else, I have no idea who it is.
Speech
No
mode
idea who
please.
this is, so I
Speech
can't
mode
really
off.
give content warnings
Speech
for
mode
what
on,
they
speech
do.
mode off.
It looks like they're making games. And yeah, you're welcome. And this is this has been a really fun thing. I was sort of it was sort of a spontaneous thing, but yeah, I'm glad I did it, and I'm glad I got the chance to. So I'm glad this
60
was
seconds
helpful
remaining.
to some people. Yeah, Patch Tuesday probably again on here. Maybe Sunday. I'll see if I have the energy, honestly. and otherwise Tuesday. And tomorrow is going to be a gaming stream with RCX again. We have 10 people watching us. Look at that go. Nice. Thanks a lot, folks. I like that. Appreciate that. Oh, now there's 7. Sorry for making you feel like embarrassed. That's all good. Anyway, we're about to raid out to a Prince Phase 101.
30
Looks to be
seconds
a
remaining.
Programmer of some renown. I don't know. And yeah. Tomorrow, Spider-Man 2. Probably Wednesday, more God of War. Possibly. We'll see. Depends on if there's new games coming out. And there's Hades 2 developments as well. So maybe we'll do that. We'll see. Yeah, possibly.
10 seconds remaining.
I just thought it funny. I was looking at the number. I just saw it jump from 10 to 7. Anyway, have a good day, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Have a good day. Goodbye.
Raid forwarded to Prince Phase 101.